Ask that everyone silence their cell phones, please, so we don't have those interruptions. And would ask Miss Linda Washington, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance today? Nice to have you here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. You're in charge of that.
I'll do it that way, it's fucking right. And what am I supposed to do?
It's supposed to be 9:01.
Okay. I can understand it anyway.
Okay. Madam Clerk to the board, would you conduct the roll call, please?
Commissioner Flowers.
Present.
Commissioner Candace.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the board Kelly Kemper, President.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Audience introductions. Start over
Jackie
here.
Bubis for the Sentinel.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Gail Spitzfaden, public comment.
Hi, Gail.
Linda Washington.
Citizen ad hoc.
Ad hoc.
By the way, her synagogue was the one that was did the terrorist attack. It was going to attack. She has quite a story to tell.
There is a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Tracy Ballard, the Valley Beats.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen.
None from me.
I have none.
No, I had a couple items, but I put them under Commissioner Adams because obviously we were too late to get to the agenda on those. Approval of the minutes, I don't believe we have any. Commissioner Adams, Commissioner Canada, would you like to begin?
Sure. Been pretty busy since we last met, which was on Monday, which is one of the things we did, which was meet to discuss broadband with all three government agencies here, two towns and commissioners. So I thought it was a good discussion. And as a result of that, several actions took place. I took a couple of them. One of which I got a hold of CDOT, and the gal Amy Ford was the second in command. She's moving on to a new job nationwide. But she said Bob took over, and Bob Pfeiffer is the guy and she sent a note to Bob and to get all the current info. I've got his numbers, but I wanted to make sure they're correct. And so she sent an email or a voicemail and a text to make sure that he knew that I was looking for him, so I'll follow up with him here pretty soon. By the way, she was very aware of Rivera. I asked her if she knew of him.
Amy was.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment? I was very rude during that meeting, disparaging about an individual, and I just want to publicly apologize for that.
Yeah, thanks. So he has a lot of creds with CDOT, so I'll make sure Bob comes in and we can ask questions on how they work their and they do that according to Amy. So we just don't know what it is, and so therefore one of the other things I did was talk to Sally Clark for 15-20 minutes, and she sent out a note as a result of our call discussion, and she said, "Good afternoon, Commissioner Kanda. We have contacted our rural utilities service representative on his availability regarding the Reconnect broadband discussion with your group. I will let you know when I hear back and we'll be in touch." What she's doing is she's more than happy to come. They're transitioning from last year's funds to this. We knew that. The fiscal year happened and they've already been granted the money. She says, "I'm not sure how much it is yet because he hasn't gotten the word. They haven't finalized the rules of engagement yet." And I asked for, I said we have some confusion on the application process, and we've got to understand what cash means, vice matching kind, and those things. She says, "I got the perfect guy that works for her, and he happens to be in Phoenix. I don't know why, but that's the guy that she references here, and he's the guy that works with the counties. So, and before he can meet with, or before he will be available to meet with us, she probably will meet with us first. She's got to come to Fremont County to present some special award, which means they applied for something. And so they're going to do that, and she wants to tie it in with that visit, which may be next week or sometime shortly after, but it'll be soon. And I told her no matter what time, and I said we prefer the afternoons because they're more open usually, but we will make then I had a long talk with Tim Kunkelman and CenturyLink regarding the complaints we've been getting, and several things. I'll take it one at a time as we discussed it. The broadband program they're on is not gonna be completed till the end of this month. And during that time, he's gonna make sure that, once it is complete, they'll send out notices, there'll be a field announcements, and there'll be some advertising campaign that you will be connected. You can subscribe to their service, get the new capabilities, and make sure they have the correct billing programs, because one false thing that was out there is if you drag a fiber to the residence, it costs too much. That's not true. So the quote that I got originally was, if you get a fiber to the residence, it was gonna cost $500. That's not true. So he's gonna make sure they put the right cost programs together and let you know how we can connect. You either connect by dragging a fiber into your house, or they'll do it by the phone line you currently have, depending on how far away they are and what service you want. He said the field teams will be out there, gonna send a crew in behind all the construction guys' messes that they've been making, and it's a cleanup crew, and they're gonna go and clean up all the trash, and then they're also responsible for flagging areas that haven't been put back to nature's perfect way we had left it when we paved it to, all the smoothed out and all that. They did mention that, there's gonna be some boulders that they pulled up, and you're not gonna be burying those, but there'll be an opportunity perhaps to haul them off, or to arrange them in, we could put them along the trail or something. I don't know. He's open to anything. And and then if you want to subscribe, he said you can call their general biz office, or there'll be folders in your mailboxes. Also, trash, on the trash front, they want to include, as he followed that up, the crews are going to be following, and he's also going to be working that facilities map we've been after him for. But he wanted to include and make sure that it's current with all the residences that they're connecting now, that they've drug the pedestals into. And so that'll be on the map that shows the current CenturyLink broadband, fiber, and their phone line service. And I also asked him about, the fact that I mentioned that we have this opportunity to apply for the grant. He's also applying for the grant because we're not forgetting the Wetmore people on our phone outage. They are working, by the 15th of January, he has to submit the state broadband fund grant for that. So he used part of that to get the fiber in out here to the east of us. And that's what he's going to hopefully be able to get enough money to pull together with he wants to get other sources. He wants to get CDOT involved, the Forest Service, who else do we have? All our other programs that might be able to provide something to match in kind, because it's a 25% match that he has to provide, along with their own money, of course. Okay, so that's what he's doing right now, and so we'll stay tuned for what is in store for Wetmore. Which made me feel good that we're a lot of publicity on the current stuff they're doing, but they're not letting drop the subscribers. All right, and then had a discussion with Armstrong Engineering on the airport program in order to get the bid in. Cypher still he's waiting for an asphalt bid, which may or may not be as current as it could be, but it's good enough for discussion so that our plan with the airport board is to get together and build a program so we can get it started as soon as possible in the spring. And we'll hear more from Lynn and the airport guys tomorrow, I believe. And that's about all I've been doing for the last 10 hours.
Okay, Commissioner Prince.
I'll be more succinct, I hope. I also attended the broadband meeting on the 31st, and we had another one on the 4th. A lot of questions are left on the table that we really don't have an interest in. On the 31st, the county's advisory group on ambulance service met in this room. and we came up with recommendations for the county. That's later on the agenda, so I'll present that actually when the time comes. I also spent quite a while speaking with Lisa Drew, the hospital director, and I spoke with Tom Shepard, the director, at great length about the hospital and the ambulance service. As you know, because we were all there, Heart of the Rockies is committed to meld with our hospital, our clinic. There's gonna be a 6-month or so transition, maybe longer. It's not a very quick move. I spoke with the new director of the hospital, and he confirmed to me that the Heart of the Rockies has no interest in being involved in ambulance service at all. The committee that I met with in this room, our group, not with the hospital directors, felt very strongly that the direction that the hospital is really interested in going may not be in the best interest for the county. I'm trying to say that delicately. One of the directors for the clinic, the West Custer County Hospital District, is totally adamant about keeping the current methodology of the ambulance service in the county the way it is. Ms. Drew said to me they're exploring options such as a separate taxing district for the ambulance. When I spoke to Lisa Drew about who actually is gonna be making these decisions, she feels that it is a hospital decision, that the county does not have rights to this, that we advocated that right to them in that letter or that agreement back in 1989. I mentioned to her that I felt that our legal counsel may feel differently to that, although I don't have anything confirmed as to that, but ultimately, if it came down to it, it may be a decision that a judge is gonna have to decide. So, I'm not gonna say this is contentious, but we're not really seeing eye to eye on the future ambulance service at this point, and I'll get into some of that a little later when
But you
it's
still
actually
have
on
the two
agenda.
committees talking with each other, and the intent is to come up with something to recommend to the board.
Absolutely. I do wanna tell you though, my advisory group, and I don't wanna call it committee, my advisory group agreed that even pursuing it further with the White Mountain Fire Protection District was really just a waste of time. The only reason they even agreed to meet originally is because I shamed them into it, and I really did. I said, you guys don't even wanna sit down and talk, and they go, well, I guess we could talk if that's the case, and then they brought up one issue after another, why it wouldn't work, and I decided, why am I wasting everybody's time with this? So at the moment, unless the two of you direct me, I'm put them on the back burner. That is really not an issue at this point. We have more fish to fry, bigger fish to fry, in terms of how are we going to adequately handle ambulance service to the eastern portion of our county. So, anyway, that's was that. Had multiple other conversations about a lot of different things, but I really have nothing else to report at this point. I'll save it for my actual discussion.
All right, thank you. Just quickly, October the 31st, attended the broadband workshop here. We had some guests in that meeting as well. I also attended the clinic board meeting on the 31st of October that Jay spoke to. You had said we were all there. That's not quite true. You and I were there.
I thought that was.
Which one?
Canada was not.
I didn't
Clinic
realize that.
board meeting.
Yeah, I understand.
November the 4th, I attended the Central Front Range Regional Transportation Planning Meeting down in Florence. We are in the process of moving forward with the long-term plan for our region, which includes Park, Chaffee, Fremont, and Custer counties, and most of El Paso County. That is the Central Front Range counties. And governor has directed CDOT to come up with a 10-year plan, and they've broken that down into a 4-year plan and a 10-year plan, so we're continuing to work that. Got some issues, but, you know, one of those deals. November the 4th, I also reached out to Reach Air Ambulance out of California. Have not heard back from them, left a message for him and have not heard back. And then I also attended the Fair Board meeting on the 4th, trying to stay abreast of what's going on there. And then on some other commissioner items, I had forwarded a copy of the letter that we were going to send out to the adjoining landowners of 3 parcels that we're considering selling over on Highway 165 by San Isabel. So if you have a chance to
Would you
review
resend that,
those.
cause I couldn't open up the
I
attachment or
think I
something.
resent it again this
Yeah.
morning.
I just got it this
You
morning.
just got it?
When
I
I
didn't.
went to get the legal on that, did you send letters yet?
No.
Oh, good, because the county does not own those lots.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Jackie called me on that. I thought she had told you about that
No.
as
Yeah,
well.
they own one on this end and one on this end, but the ones in the middle, JD's pretty sure that, the state of Colorado owns them.
Okay.
And I don't know, I was gonna do some research on it and I just haven't had time.
so we will obviously put all this on hold, so, okay. The other thing I think we need to talk about at some point, and maybe it needs to go on an agenda item for tomorrow, and that's the dedicated service, and maybe we'll have Miss Donna come over and we can talk about that. So let's put that on for tomorrow, new business, dedicated service, we'll do that early on the
Probably in
agenda.
her, is she doing her report tomorrow?
She is doing her report tomorrow, and I think she's talking about some of that.
Okay,
yes.
we can just do it during her report, I'll make a note of that,
Okay.
thank you.
Or if we're gonna make a decision, maybe we would put it as an agenda item.
Well, we can put pending
Pending,
action item
Yeah.
on
And
her
I think
report.
I have her, yes, I'll do that.
And then, received communication from an individual who's recommending that we consider giving back the ownership of the Vertimont Tower back to the state of Colorado. So I suppose we ought to have some discussion about that at some point here in the near future.
He had some reasons to do that.
Well, yeah, I think generally as I've understood it since I've been elected was that we are responsible for that tower because we own it.
Right.
The state would own it, but, for some reason the county decided they wanted to, but it opens us up to significant liability for lightning strikes and that kind of stuff, which we've suffered 2 of those already. But I think, as I understand it, the fire is the only equipment that's up there. So I'm not sure why the county's owning equipment for the fire department, but we'll just have to see how that all goes,
Yeah.
so.
Can I suggest we get the people who, because I'm kind of I'm like, I don't know, let's say like.
You are like me, 'cause I really don't
I'm
know
in
all
fog
the
about what
yeah.
really is the story there. Before we make any decisions, I'd really like to have whoever has the knowledge to tell us
Right.
what the story is
Right.
on that tower.
Yeah, so maybe we put that on a subsequent agenda and we'll invite representative from the fire, representative from Road and Bridge, because
Be perfect.
they're the ones that deal with it typically. And then we'll go ahead and GIS or IT, we'll get them in here and maybe have a discussion, so. Because we're having our mid-month meeting here, I'd recommend that we put that on the agenda for the 13th.
And
So
they-
discussion of Vertimont, consideration of ownership of Vertimont Tower, I think would suffice. That way, if we do make a decision, we wanna vote on something, we can,
Right.
instead of just discussion.
And invite the players to come and
Right.
help us
Yeah, and
understand
I'll
what's
take care
going
of
on
that.
there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good point, thank you. And then the other thing I had under Commissioner, business this morning was, received some communication from the Forest Service, here it is, they're wanting us to give them a letter of support. And I just got this, so was not able to forward it, but they're asking for a letter of support for the San Carlos Ranger District, OHV Trails grant they're applying for, so
Good.
we've, he's just asking us to, support them on their, as they
Cover all
move
the
forward
San
and get a
Isabel
grant.
Trail,
Yeah.
San,
Yeah, your support will help us purchase and maintain equipment to improve the efficiency of the OHV trail. We will maintain ATV and motorized single track trails in Lake Isabel, Levita, and the Wet Mountain areas.
cool.
So, I didn't wanna just do this without, having a discussion. If you guys are, by consent, if you're okay with that, I'll move forward with that, and we'll get something together.
Not do it.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate that. I believe that's all I had. Okay, Upper Ark Water Conservancy District, anybody have anything for that? We're moving forward, you know, I think I've reported, there is a trial date set for that. I spoke to one of the opposers yesterday, their attorney bills continue to mount up, but
Yeah, and I asked, and I haven't heard back yet from me, or update on the proposal gave them in our last meeting, and when we're gonna be able to meet with the Blue Line Committee to resolve whether we're gonna do it or not, and save some money.
When is the trial date?
July 2021.
July
2020.
21. And my assumption is that the Blue Line Committee may make a recommendation to the Board of Directors, I don't know.
For 21.
21,
Yeah.
yeah.
2021.
Seriously?
Yeah. And we worry about things
Okay.
way out there.
Attorney items?
I got an email from you, Tom, about the lights in the parking lot out
Yes.
here, and,
It was a nice, polite one.
I tried to be
It
polite.
was very polite.
our next Dark Skies meeting is November 18th, I think. I'll take it to the board, but I think I will certainly strongly recommend that we pay to switch out all those lights out there. But we gotta get Brad Huff to give us or give him an ultimatum. He's gotta get it done, cause the other one is been.
Yeah,
I've been
may I
fixed
give
for-
you a little backstory
Sure,
on
sure.
that? Brad has the light that we asked him to order. He said he's had it in the back of his pickups,
Okay,
behind the seat of his pickup. He was prepared to install that, and then he realized that none of these lights are really what they should be.
okay.
Two of them aren't working. And, well, I think there's three,
Four of them aren't
four, so
working.
there's three not working plus the one that's broken, correct?
Mix them
The
all.
one that blew
So no,
down.
Yeah.
there's no lights out.
Yeah, so
I didn't
he
know
said,
that.
I'll
That's
put
what
this
dark
one up.
skies mean.
He said, I'll go install it, but he said, I guarantee you're not gonna be happy with it. It's not gonna match any of the other lighting structures. He said, my recommendation is to replace them all with LED lights, and if Dark Skies is interested in helping him with that, then we should find out. And I said, okay, that was last Thursday, and I was out of town on Friday, so, that's why the one light, which is all we had talked to him about, correct?
The one that blew down,
He had that, that's why he didn't install it.
yeah. Okay. Well, and actually, to expedite this, I can send out an email to our board of directors asking just for an email vote on it. But that's what we do, and I'd be happy to
Well,
recommend we pay for all the lights to be switched out.
and let me throw this out to the commissioners and you as chairman of the Dark Skies. It's not dark,
President.
President.
Mr. President.
They play hail to the chief every time I come in
okay,
and sit
so I apologize for that.
Okay.
They turn out the lights when you walk
It
in.
is not Dark Skies' responsibility to light the parking lot for the courthouse, it is our responsibility. So I'm gonna suggest that we go ahead and move forward with this and ask Dark Skies if they'd like to contribute to that. But I don't know that we need to sit here and not make a decision because we're waiting on Dark Skies. It's not their job, it's our job.
Well, we wanna be compliant too.
Well, and so my,
We need to get involved with it.
Brad knows what kind
yeah,
of
he
lights
knows,
are.
so my suggestion is we go ahead and hire Brad Huff to do it.
Right.
and then hope and ask Dark Skies to participate in that to whatever level they feel is appropriate.
That's fine.
I just feel like that's
We don't have to wait,
appropriate
that's for
approach.
I don't
Okay.
disagree.
Or come and escort people out when it's dark.
Yeah, flashlights. Commissioners could be here and escort
That's
out.
what they use, but then Kelly says somebody slipped.
Well, we would save money if we gave Kelly.
It was dark last night.
Well, we would, yeah. So with that, I will go ahead and
Really?
contact Brad if you guys are all right with that. Sir, I know we're in the middle of your report and I apologize.
No, I brought it up, so.
But the only thing I wanna make sure is that whatever Brad's gonna put up is authorized, I don't wanna say authorized, but is
And
compliant.
he's worked with us on a lot of the lights,
Yeah.
he knows
It's
what he's
compatible,
done.
that's a better way.
Dark sky compliant,
Yeah.
just to satisfy the codes of
Right.
the two towns.
Yeah, he's aware of that, so,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, well, I will talk to him about that. Sorry, sir, go ahead. Anything else?
Let's see, so at our last meeting, when we talked about attainable housing, I wrote a letter of acceptance to Colorado College, cause they'd actually made the offer. So I accepted their offer to purchase those lots for $36,000, and I haven't gotten a response yet. I think I did, that it would have to be taken up by their, board up there, so that's in the process.
Okay.
This is another dark sky thing, but I think it's good for the entire valley. Last night at the Smoky Jack Observatory, I hosted a freelance writer. He's sort of well-known worldwide. He came here, was arranged by the Colorado Tourism Office, and we spent a couple hours down at the observatory. It was cold as usual. People always are amazed when the roof is open, it gets cold in there, but, he was impressed with this. He grew up in this country. Now he lives in Zurich, Switzerland. And I went to his website. He has been all over the world and written travel articles, and not just about the places he's visited, about the lodging, about the meals that he's eaten. So I think he had the best meal possible. He ate a Chappie's last night. And
What do you order?
he had a steak and he had the mac and cheese on the side. Just
Best mac and cheese in the world.
It really is good. Anyway, cause I asked him, are you actually gonna write an article about this? And he said, I really would. He's worked with International Dark Sky Association in the past and has visited other dark sky locations around the world. So hopefully something will come of
What
that.
time was it? Were the clouds in yet?
There were no clouds last night. It was clear, but it was cold.
What's his name?
Adam Graham, Graham. You ought to go to his website, just Google his name and you'll find some very interesting stuff. And he was staying, and I didn't know the name of it, the 14er Ranch, which is it's down on South Colony Road, it's like the two tents with a little structure in between.
Oh, yeah.
And but he said it was very nice and comfortable, so. Okay, the other thing was the issue regarding who owns roads in the subdivision. And I put that on the agenda for tomorrow. I did a lot of research on it on Monday and again yesterday. But I came in, I started in Virginia's office. I wanted to find out who had the HUTF list of roads, and she didn't. And the president of the HOA from Corona Verde had already been there to talk to her. So then I went upstairs and talked to, JD wasn't there, I talked to Kristen, I guess, and she didn't really have that information, but the guy from the HOA had been in there asking. So then I went over to Road and Bridge, and the guy had been there just ahead. It felt like I was following him around. But Gary and Gary was there, and Sherry was there, of course, and they got me a list of all the HUTF roads that, we're getting money for, and we're getting money for a lot of them in Corona Verde, but not all of them. I did a lot of legal research, and I'm prepared to report on this in detail tomorrow as to ownership, because there's a lot of confusion at there's two different things, who's responsible for maintenance and who actually owns the road. That's two different issues.
Exactly. See, and everybody thinks that's the same issue.
Yeah, because we don't own, in my opinion, legal opinion, we don't own any roads in these subdivisions. We have rights of way, and if we agree, and it's discretionary with the county, and we'll accept a road for maintenance, And obviously we had for a lot of those roads in Corte Verde, but we don't own the roads, and I'll talk about this, cause I invited that gentleman, Mr. Dugan, to be here, and I asked Gary and Roger to be here tomorrow as well, so we can have a discussion on this.
I'll be here.
Okay, that's probably good.
Yeah,
We need to
Cornell
get this-
Verde will be here in mass tomorrow,
Good.
is what I heard.
They've been
Who's
calling a
coming
lot.
in mass?
The people from Cuerno Verde.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's interesting what I found about ownership of roads, you know, it's amazing.
I'll put out a clean shirt.
Yeah, probably good idea. So that's all I have to report for attorney items.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it. Public comment? Yes, ma'am.
A little bit of history. I live in Brush Creek Estates on the north end of the valley, and it was established in the early 70s. In 1991, Mountain States Telephone ran a phone line up the access road. We crossed private property to get to our subdivision, which we had to sue for legal access last year, because we have a hostile
Remember that.
landowner. So we got that legal access. In the wording, it didn't say anything about utilities. It said services and enjoyment and maintenance of the road we were granted, but, for residential use, but it didn't specifically say utilities. CenturyLink is at the gate. The county, the old maps of the county said that that was County Road 193, but it was never brought up to county standards. So, they never got a right-of-way easement recorded. So that phone line that runs up the easement road, is not on record. And the landowners won't allow them to plow in the broadband line, the fiber optic line, because,
Private road.
yeah. So, it was also partially Mountain States Telephone, then Quest, then CenturyTel, then CenturyLink. Their problem that they didn't have a legal recorded utility easement. So, my question is there anything that the county can do to help us get access up that easement road? We thought we had our neighbors' agreement that they were gonna plow it in on their private land, but, one of them backed out because of hesitation.
We're talking about access for broadband to come in, is that what you're referring to? Okay, I just wasn't
Because
sure.
the original
I
phone
got it.
line goes
I
up the
understand.
easement road.
But the broadband wasn't coming up and the
Right,
landowner
they're
said
stopping
no.
4,000 feet from our subdivision.
Right.
So, we may have increased service. I mean, we barely get 1.5, and most of the time you can't even do a speed test, so.
So current phone lines are in, do they allow
Yes.
them to be maintained, or, because there's no right of way,
There's no legal,
so you have.
so if something
you have a
happened to
bigger
them,
issue, sounds like,
yeah, the phone company or somebody would have to fight them,
yeah.
in
just to fix
order
it.
to. So, because the county didn't require or didn't request Mountain States Telephone to get a legal easement, is there anything that y'all can do to help us get that plowed in up that road?
Just the fellow commissioners, you called me about this, and I recommended you come here and bring this to us to see if there was any further discussion that I had. I think I mentioned to you, I was unaware of what we could possibly do on a private road. But I suggest if you wanna bring it to the commissioners, I just wanna bring it up to speed on.
So, how many landowners up there, do you know, I mean, how many people?
There's
in this
30 lots, that's in Brush Creek Estates, then there's Bob Lawrence tracks behind us. 30 lots, 20 dwelling units.
Okay,
How many lots are blocking it, won't support the right of way below you? Who's it?
Just a conservation
one?
easement that's privately owned by Jane Lawrence,
Oh, it's just one.
Lawrence
one
Family
owner,
Ranch,
stop.
right. And San Isabel put the conservation easement on there without exploring the utility easement
Yeah.
either, and in the court case, if we'd have known this was gonna happen, we certainly would have requested utility easement, but we didn't know, and I don't know if the wording in the decree would allow us to, I mean, we'd probably have to get clarification from the court.
Yeah, and
We spent a
Lawrence
lot of
is-
money last year
Yeah.
trying to get legal access to our subdivision.
Lawrence's adjoin that road, correct, on the south,
Mhm.
193. I don't
Well,
know.
no, that, once you get off the county road, once you get off 193 onto, it's called San Rafael,
Right,
the Lawrence's, that's Lawrence's land. It does go
On
across.
both sides.
Yes.
No, it's actually along, the easement road is along the northern
South.
border.
yeah, well, they're south of that
Right,
road.
and there is some private property that's outside the fence line. One of the neighbors, Garris, to the north, they have some of the property.
Yeah, Fox is on the land of the north of County Road
Mhm.
193.
Garris's and then
Boynton.
Fox's and then Brush Creek Estates.
So, yeah, I guess this would be, a legal counsel question. I don't think there's anything we can do. Again, it comes back to responsibility, easements, rights of way. I have no idea where we're at with County Road 193 from, and that runs clear down to County Road 192, correct? Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's only about it's not even a half mile from.
If if there was a way to bring the fiber in, could it follow a county road, or would that not work?
No, there's no county road.
That's what
I mean, we're
thought.
sort of an island
So where
up
does
there.
where does the issue start, at San Rafael or
Yes,
193?
at the end of County Road 193,
From there
where it goes
west.
onto
There.
actually Garris's land, and they would be willing to, because they already granted the easement on their property, but,
Then it hits,
then it hits Lawrence's,
Lawrence's
and
again.
they're not reasonable.
Well,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say
it's
that.
fine. I mentioned to you when you spoke to me about it earlier that I don't see how the county could impose itself on a private property. But I thought it would be worth coming here to bring it to our attention, because maybe council or someone else here has.
Well, can I ask a couple of I mean, I haven't seen the plat or any on this or the map so it's like 4,000 feet of, that you got through the court action, the
Yes, it was
easement?
a road that we'd used for over 40 years.
Okay.
And because the cabins are now changing hands because
Alright.
the original owners are
Where'd you
selling or
go to
dying.
court, I mean, here in Custer
Mhm.
County then? Who was the judge?
Merrick,
Alright,
he was a magistrate.
actually, I'm not even sure, but you had an easement by prescription, and you had used that continuously
Yes.
for over 40 years, so
Yes.
there was and generally, when you have, and this is just general talk, I mean, you really need to talk to your lawyer again, I guess, and you had a phone line that came up that road?
Yes, it was installed in 1991.
Still using it, right?
Yes,
Alright, well, you already have an easement for utilities then by right, I mean, just by prescriptive easement, because of the continuous usage of it, you've got an easement for utilities there. And I don't know your court action, if it didn't address that, perhaps it should have, but I think you ought to go back to your lawyer and talk to him about that you already have an easement for utilities along that road. You don't, and I don't know what it would take, whether the lawyer has to go back to court and clarify that, but legally, just the fact that you used it as a road for so many years and that you used it for utilities coming in, it's already there. But obviously, if you just go and start putting in the phone, or, nobody's gonna put it in.
there's been some threats,
Yeah.
just even at the gate
So,
entrance.
yeah, I think your question was, is there anything the county can do? I don't believe there is. I think you're gonna have to do as counsel suggested here is go back to your attorney and request a court docket hearing and see about, can they entertain adding that utility
Yeah,
that you've already got that utility easement
Yeah.
onto your deal, but
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't
the
know that
fact
we
that
have time because, you know, I mean, once CenturyLink's out of there, you know, I
Right.
mean, this is like a once in a lifetime thing, you know, just,
Yeah.
you know, to
Yeah.
bring our neighborhood up into, you know,
Well,
this,
again, I don't wanna
Century.
be giving legal advice, there are
Right.
certain procedures where you can get expedited action done if there's going to be a substantial loss if nothing happens quickly. But you'd have to talk to your attorney beyond that, you know, you
Okay.
could get some kind of, court order right away,
okay,
alright?
thank you.
Sam Barley, you wanna weigh in?
Gail, I would just echo some, I'm very familiar with all of this, as you know, because we get contacted at least every other week about issues regarding access period across this. Unless, in the court order, I've read it several times, and so I think you are authorized with utilities, but because it doesn't specifically cite, they're gonna give you nothing but problems anyways. You probably do need to have your attorney get on it, and if you can probably expedite it, as, Mr. Smith said.
Okay.
But, I think you're gonna need to have him so that it's specifically
Clear.
spelled out in crayon what they can do.
That's all they give lawyers and judges.
Or they'll give you problems, you know better than I how many problems you guys are having, and everything has to be in capital block letter, or
Right.
they don't understand it.
Right.
And I'm not, I'm just trying to be honest,
Okay, well, thank you, sir.
Could they, I mean, just a legal question, could they appeal if we got the magistrate to clarify that and add the utilities into the easement? Could they appeal to that?
Sure, that's what lawyers do.
Be a question for your attorney. Yeah, so, yeah,
You got a little time.
we gotta be careful about doling out legal advice. It's not our
Right, right.
responsibility, it's not what we're paying our attorney for.
Yeah, my ultimate advice is go see your
Yeah,
attorney.
there you
Yeah.
go, yeah.
Everything else is just me speculating on things, I'm not,
Right,
you don't take that to the bank or anything.
no,
All right,
thank you.
you bet, thank you. Anything else, public comment? If not, we will move on. Let me get out of this map app.
Rusty is ready.
We'll move on to staff reports. As much as I hate to this early, cause we're only 30 minutes behind schedule. Good morning, sir, how are you?
Good morning.
Oh, well, we were taking a short social break here.
You look well rested, Rusty.
Fueling them up.
First time I saw the sheriff.
Wasn't sure you were gonna pour for me or not.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Thank
Good
you.
How
morning.
are ya?
Okay.
Good. Good. We'll pull up the appropriate docs here.
That's looks good to me.
Can't believe it's the 6th of November already.
Right. I was here yesterday for my meeting, but
Oh, how'd it go?
It was really
Is
fast.
that why you took the rest of the day
Most
off?
productive one he's ever had.
Yeah, did anybody give me any grief? Well, let's try it again today. How's that?
Okay.
Those are pre-written.
All yours, sir. Go ahead.
skid steer will be delivered to Four Rivers on the 13th, I think.
Okay.
So we'll pick it up after the first of the year.
They don't deliver that on a new vehicle, huh? I mean, on a new purchase? That's weak.
Yeah.
So you got a trailer that
we'll-
can haul it?
Yeah, we do.
We're good.
Gonna pick up. We'll get it.
Brand new.
You'll pick up.
And so we'll get it after the first of the year because we wouldn't get reimbursed from the state this year. So if we do it after the first of the year and get it invoiced for the first of the, after the first of the year, then it'll be good, then the state can reimburse the county.
You gonna house that in your cardboard area? Keep it inside?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Financial assurance is done and sent to the state, and the 5-year is also finished and sent off. We had a truck gonna come last Wednesday whenever it was snowing, so we had to cancel our truck repair board. But we got another one for the 13th, so that'll be good.
Good.
Even though it's not worth much, we need to get rid of it.
Yeah. note there on fire prevention? You wanna talk
Fire
about that, or-
prevention, yeah. That was our safety.
Oh, that was your safety meeting, is what you went over, sorry. Good. And then, I'm assuming you will have appropriate training on the new skid steer with all your folks
Right.
for insurance purposes. I'm sure they're all capable of running one, but
Yeah, and the state wants that too, so we have to prove to them that everybody's been trained on it,
good.
so we'll do that.
And I know I've asked this 100 times. That was the CDPHE grant, right?
Right,
For the skid steer.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not gonna cost us anything, they're paying for
Yeah,
that,
sweet.
so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that was a zero match grant.
Recycling grant,
Yeah,
no matching,
No match.
no.
very good.
So it's nice to get a piece of equipment for
Yeah.
nothing,
A change.
yeah.
And I saw those coyotes charge us $600 to ship back their piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Justice in the world.
Yep. One time, that scraper came from Sterling, I think. We had to pay for
Cost
that.
$2,000, man.
Yeah. It's expensive.
Okay.
But the
Everything else?
revenue should be about the same as last year, I'm guessing at this point. 2018 was 200
Yeah, we got it here.
so it'll be real close to that.
Get mine oriented to the world, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
They just really haven't been bringing the roll-off containers like they have in the past, so.
They've been dumping it in the bar pits on you. They found a lot of tires, CenturyLink did, when they went through the drug up thing.
Oh, is that right?
Ditches, yeah. Where they all those piles you see on the side of the road.
I've only seen the one out there.
A couple up here on Horn
I
Road.
saw the one at Brush Hollow in 96 yesterday.
One on
Yeah.
96. And,
Which I was gonna stop and throw them in the back of my pickup, and I come by
Look
the
better than
car
your
and I
tires.
forgot about it. But I need to get them out of there, that's for sure. We talked to Gary about that.
Well, if CenturyLink
Somebody
dug them
said-
up, they'll be pulling them out.
Somebody said that they were using those to cross the state highway with their equipment. Running over.
Could be the tractor.
But I don't know if that's right or not either.
Be nice if they did, if they're running that dozer with that ripper blade on across the highway. So maybe we
Probably
leave them
did.
there, but
They're gonna clean them.
we'll have to talk to Big Enough back there when it comes up. All right, sir, anything else?
No?
Everything's
Okay.
working?
Yeah. So far, all is good.
How long do we wanna wait until we address the new well site?
I don't know. Yeah,
Money?
yeah,
You don't have in your budget this year, correct, to drill a new well?
no.
How deep is that current well, any idea?
240 feet to groundwater,
Oh,
or to the uppermost aquifer,
not to the bottom of the hole.
right? So,
And I would imagine we'll be looking $30 a foot.
then we're gonna have to come up out of that draw, and so that's even gonna make it deeper, I imagine,
Probably 225.
unless the water table's changed.
Any idea where you'd want that new well?
Just up there behind the,
Close to your building?
yeah, a little closer to the building, I imagine, so it'd be out of the way.
Because the further we drill it away from your building, the more we're gonna have to
Pump it.
dig in and run a water line.
Right,
Think we should have it witched?
never hurts,
I mean, it'd be nice to have it within 40 feet of your building.
yeah, would,
South side, probably.
right.
Really can't go east or west, that gets used. driveway almost, huh?
So it's not in the budget next year, right?
We could do that. Cause we can dig those trenches first.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe we oughta think about trying to get 15 grand a year in the budget for 2020 and 2021, and
Get it lined up.
I wonder about putting it up by the highway, or, north fence line somewhere up there, just trenching across that driveway.
Yeah, that'd work too. That'd probably be best.
Yeah.
It's about $12,000 to drill there, so if it's 400 feet deep,
12,000.
not too bad.
To drill it, casing and trenching and wire, the pump will be on top of that,
Mm.
so.
Well, we have 9,681 in the landfill fund right now.
Well, maybe next year we better try to get 15 grand in there and earmark it for that.
Start putting the cardboard towards Rusty.
Sheriff Barley, you had a comment?
No, I was waiting
Oh,
on someone.
sorry. Yeah, well, let's not forget that, 'cause man, I don't want all that to come on at once. If we can get
Right.
the well moved now, it'd be nice. We
Yeah.
can continue to operate out there without it, but.
You have some funds in the budget for the rest of this year, don't you? Say 9,000 left? Or do you need it?
Professional services is broke.
Okay.
And that's,
I didn't mean to bring
that's
it up.
pretty
I
much
thought you
where,
had
that's
some.
pretty much where the money, all the money comes from.
Yeah, you had 10,000.
Well, we took 25,000 out of it last budget.
Right. Right, so next year, let's try to get in maybe 15 grand or
Yeah.
whatever we think half of it would be in 2 years, we should be able to fund that. Get it done 2021 if we can.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, sir. Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you for coming in, appreciate it.
You bet.
Everybody doing all right out
It's 2
there?
days in a row, so.
Yeah.
We'll see you
Pretty
tomorrow
good.
too.
What's that?
Will we see you tomorrow?
Yeah. I'll pop in.
It's better than going to work, isn't it? Huh. All right, man, thank you.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Roden Bridge, good morning, sir. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Gary.
The floor is yours, sir.
So I was gonna talk about this kind of dirty road situation, but, that's how you wanna wait for?
Well, yeah, we're gonna get a report from legal tomorrow. Were you here when he talked about that? Okay, I think you walked in just after. He said he's done a bunch of research on that. He's gonna give us his legal opinion tomorrow. If you have time, it might be something that you might wanna come back and sit in on.
Yeah, I think I will. I think
It'll
Roger
be
knows-
early.
Probably.
Yeah, Roger knows those plans.
No, that'll come under attorney report, unless, let me just check real quick here so I'm not shooting my yap off.
I mean, it could directly affect us or
Yeah,
avoid, so I'd like to do that.
I would appreciate if you could be here, because if they're gonna have a room full of folks, we need
See,
to have.
what they said, there's some that have been turned over, some that haven't. You know,
Well-
they're gonna need to be on, let us know what it is.
Yeah, let's continue this discussion when council gets back in here. Corner Verde's on the agenda tomorrow for 2 things. So their PILT funding request, I'm sure they're gonna have people here for that specifically. Council, we've got consideration of the Corner Verde request concerning the roads on the agenda.
For tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
that's when you're gonna give your legal opinion about that, not during the attorney.
No, it'll be during.
Okay,
that.
so
I
yeah.
told Mr. Dugan maybe 9:30 or so before we get there.
Yeah, and it's gonna be later than that, it'll
That's
probably be
right.
closer to 10:30 or 11.
Well,
but
that'll
that's
be his
yeah.
privilege to watch you in action for an hour.
That's great,
That'll be
yeah,
great.
so, yeah, I'm looking at tomorrow's agenda, so I would say probably 10:30.
Okay, and what I've done in the past, and like this morning, I just managed the commissioners meeting until I think it's.
Oh,
So that way I can continue.
For
through
your
Right.
personal enjoyment, you monitor that.
Not necessarily. It allows me to do things in my office.
Right.
Till it's my time.
Timed it pretty good today, of course.
Yeah,
so,
well, yeah.
But yeah, let's hold off on that then until tomorrow.
Okay.
I think that would be good for you guys to be here and hear council's
Sure. And
advice.
I did take time to drive each
Did you?
of the one,
Yeah.
each of the resident questions.
And are the folks living at the end of, Kiowa Circle, thank you, could not think of it.
Well,
Did it appear that somebody was, I mean, is there tire
I-
tracks in and out?
There's tire tracks going in and out, but it was the realtor sign's still in. It was my understanding from a couple of individuals with the board over at Queen Verde that came in a day or so ago that they were gonna close potentially on that home like yesterday or the day
Oh, okay.
before, so.
Okay.
Um,
She had mentioned something about it in an email, I just didn't go back and research
I don't know.
that. So you've had some folks come visit with you, nice,
mhm.
good.
Yeah.
Nice that your office doors are open, swing both ways, and
Yeah.
you're
Right.
such a cordial, inviting road supervisor.
Can't hardly lock it.
Didn't get contentious, did it?
Not at
Okay,
all.
good,
No.
good.
It's all good.
Okay, yeah, so we'll defer that until tomorrow then. Yeah.
I was gonna mention the culvert situation and the
Yeah.
responsibility of that being on the road and bridge department to maintain it. I did, Sherry got feedback from another county, and I'm gonna continue to do research on that. I got, some information from another county, and, they leave it up to the property owner to maintain those from the point in which they're installed, from that point on.
Yeah, you know,
They
the
install them.
problem with that is if they don't, and it starts washing out on the county road side of the culvert,
Yeah.
Do they have a penalty if they don't do it?
Well, I know one county, states in there in the agreement they must maintain it, and then if there is any kind of damage to it, if they have to
Fix the road.
Yeah, they gotta get fixed. So anyway, it's just one of those things that I wanna do some more research
Yeah.
on, because that is the downside. Fortunately, I haven't seen a lot of that, there's been a lot of culverts we've not been able to go out and clean, and, we just hadn't had time, and, fortunately, I've not seen them do any kind of damage to the road. It typically will wash out at the end of the, entrance going onto the property, but it really doesn't affect us that much, so that's the good side, or the good part.
yeah, I mean, I would struggle with the policy that said the homeowners are gonna maintain these culverts. I see it on Hermit above me. The county, if we didn't maintain those culverts, those homeowners wouldn't, 'cause they don't care as long as they can drive across it, and it's washing out the county road.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that too, Gary. That one you guys did out there for Lee subdivision, it had washed the road out.
Coming out on the
Yeah,
road.
so it's a subdivision responsibility there if it was gonna be turned over,
Mhm.
which that probably can be done. Then I've seen a couple of them where they put in a culvert, and in doing that, found the culvert that was already in there that had been buried for years.
Well, and then there's always that, we could always put it to the property owners like this, when they call in to want a culvert clean, well, just tell them we'll get to it when we can.
Well, that's what we
And that's
have
kind of
to
what we've
budget
been,
for it somehow.
been doing
Road.
lately. Is,
Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's in the county's best interest for the county to take care of these culverts, because it's gonna damage our county roads.
well, and I think that possibly one of the reasons they did it in the first place.
That makes us user friendly too.
And legally, I would guess, these culverts that I'm aware of, they're all on county road easements. They're not sitting back on the private land. They're out on the, right alongside the county road, so,
Yeah, there's pros and cons to them.
yeah. And as we left it the other day, you're working on a policy about installation of culverts, right?
Right.
Is that where we left it, that you were gonna, okay. So,
Yeah.
next few months, hopefully we can,
Get ready for summertime installation.
Yeah, I'd like to generate something, you know, get something in place and then let you guys review it, give me your thoughts on it and go from there.
Okay.
and
Maybe make some modifications to the current one, so.
where are we at with Muirfield Road? What did we decide to do there? Disallow it, didn't we?
Correct,
We voted to
yeah.
disallow
Said
that.
they
Yeah,
would
and
come up with a
notify-
policy and then let him reapply.
Yeah,
Did you notify the landowner?
not yet.
Do you want us to do that,
Uh,
since it came as a vote to the commissioners, or do you
Well,
wanna deal with it?
no, I'll deal with it, I'll give him a call and let him know what we decided on that, so.
All right, those were the three.
No broken
things.
snow plows in the last couple of storms, everybody plowing okay, no complaints?
Haven't heard of
I
that.
haven't heard it.
The,
I heard some good.
I know the roads have been easier to maintain now that we've gotten that nicer. We're actually starting to gain a little bit, whereas prior to the snow, that was
Really
really
wet,
hard, tough time, so it's stabilized the roads.
A little off topic, but I think the conversation needs to be had with you as well as the airport, and that is they're after some material to fill in some low spots on the north end of the existing west row of hangars. There's 3 lots down there that they cannot leave because of the slope of that ground. Is there a chance that the road and bridge could excavate and move some material from basically north of the hangars back to the south a little bit to fill those in? Versus us having to hire somebody to haul material in there. I'll pull that up on a map if you.
It's north and east. There's a berm there. We talked about it, board did, when I was out there, and then, I don't know, when you were out there last week, we talked about plowing the road, and, but what Tom's bringing up is a good one. We've had that discussion with the board, is, there is a hill that has a rise, and it would be fairly simple to get a loader out there, training a guy to load trucks or whatever, and dump some of that over there on those, where the fill dirt's needed, because it'll generate some income.
Yeah, we're not gonna move it very far, right?
No,
Like,
I'll pull this map.
200
up. Let me
yards.
get the parcels out of here so you can see it.
At most 200 yards.
So,
Right here.
general idea was, I'll turn it around, that anywhere there's some material, so probably in this area, general area out in here, where there's some high material.
So here's the
move it
empty
over
lots
into
here, right here.
Those 3.
And this is where this high rise is right in through here. It's pretty high.
Or if we even had to come in here and excavate a borrow pit out on the south side of that road somewhere.
He's got the road graded in here to bring fill dirt in.
So,
Here.
something to consider maybe, huh?
Well, I'm okay with it. If we're gonna do it, right now is a good time to do it.
Yeah,
Because of what I just mentioned,
Moisture and,
and it's helped us
it's easy to
out
dig.
yeah,
as far as, you know,
It'll take 15 times 10 times 3 loads.
we're definitely getting some requests that we could lease those other 3 hangar spots if we had that up to grade. And I'm assuming kind of wheel pack it as we went.
they're thinking about extending that taxi lane in the future sometimes.
Well, I'm okay with it, like I say, if we're gonna do it, I'd like to do it right now. So if I could meet with.
Get with the board and I'll,
Lynn
the next
agree.
board meeting,
Okay, give
let
them
do
that.
it.
He give me his.
Lynn and Brian Anderson. Well, Brian's the deputy.
Yeah, but if you Lynn's the chairman of that board, so if you contact him, then he'd get
Get
you
the right guy.
schedule up a meeting, and let me send you his contact information real quick. Anyway, I think our only other reasonable alternative is to hire somebody locally with a scraper, and I'm not sure it's
It's not worth
worth that
Okay.
if it's something that.
Yeah, there's no, whatever you can do, it will be better than nothing. I mean, it's a great, and fill that up pretty quick. I mean,
Do you know Lynn agree?
Mhm.
okay. Gary's out there and you walked it before, and you'll see.
Yeah, and what you mentioned before, having people bring in field, what we've talked about
Yeah.
before, that takes probably years.
Yeah, nothing's happened.
Well, nobody's done it, we had
Move
3
forward.
loads dropped, and I dropped them.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, that's all I have, sir. Anything else, gentlemen?
The reports were clear and concise. I didn't see any, your reports that you gave us, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. Was gonna mention to you, I opened it up in-house, Roger's position for applications. I put the deadline of Monday on it, and gave him a couple weeks to, I generated a application packet, and some of given a job description and whatnot. But anyway, there was only 2 individuals that picked them up. They told me I got them turned back in, so I've got 2 applicants with them, so.
It was in the newspaper, you said?
I'm sorry, no,
You
I
haven't?
I didn't put it in the newspaper, I just advertised, or didn't even advertise, I just advertised at the road bridge department.
So if neither one of those applicants are satisfactory to you, I'm assuming, then we go outside.
And, they both would be okay.
Okay. So you don't anticipate having to go outside to look for that hire, and you're gonna deal with that.
Would you folks like to interview these 2? Or do you
Yes.
feel like it's necessary for you to conduct a brief interview with them, or?
I don't believe I think it's necessary.
I don't
but
either.
That's,
And I'm comfortable, like I say, with both of them.
Well, you're the boss.
yeah, I mean, I view this as, it's really not our hire, it's a supervisor's hire. Planning and zoning handled that, and recently anyway, so I would think you'd be well within your parameters to deal with that. Would appreciate a follow-up informational for us, so we know what's going on, but guess I can always call you and ask you if I wanna know too, can I? All right,
It
sir.
works both ways.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Commissioner,
Yes.
I would just like to thank Gary and his crew. So on that Connex project that we did over there,
Yes.
Gary and his guys were integral parts in leveling off that space and moving containers and getting them. I mean, because we needed them in a pretty specific area, and Gary did a bunch of welding, and yesterday he finished up some stuff we needed done and put in an extra cage inside of there for securing some drugs and stuff. And so, just all the work that they helped us with, Gary, I really appreciate your guys' help and willingness to do that. Thank you.
You're sure
Yeah,
welcome.
good. Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Send him a bill for it,
So you pretty well wrapped that up, that project? Good. Thanks, Gary, appreciate it. Okay.
Oh boy, the highlight of the morning's coming in.
No, oh, well, I'm glad.
You wanna stay for it? You wanna stay for it?
I'd rather have my finger in a pie.
Oh, yeah, that's what I
I
think
mean,
too.
This is much better than having
I
finger
don't know, it's been
guns.
quite a morning for us, and we're like,
Has
what
it
the heck?
already?
Yeah, it's just been crazy.
Wow.
Crazy in there, but whatever, that's how that goes.
Mm-hmm, let's see, I'm behind here, let me pull up your documentation.
Bless you. Laura, I just want you to know that you're the highlight of my every
Well, I know that, Calvert, thanks for.
Gosh, this is
reinforcing
sweet.
it.
She just wanted to get,
I know, yeah.
she wanted that on public record.
Yeah.
It's because their doors are facing each other.
Yeah,
They duke it out every morning.
every day.
Every day.
Right.
In the hall, we meet in the hall. We try to take it out of the office.
That's right, get out
In
the
the
hall.
hall.
Yep. So you're good?
I am good. I am good.
We've got a little business to conduct with you today, but we'll get to that when it's appropriate.
We can do it whenever.
We'll do it at the end. Let's go through your reports.
Oh,
first.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And so, yeah, you have the first page?
Yep.
You got
Yes.
this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure do.
So, I mean, we're doing okay. I've been a little worried about the admin because we're on the road so much. And, but we're hanging in there, so hopefully we're gonna be okay.
You want a vehicle or no?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Oh, yes, because that was one of the things I was gonna talk to you about, because you were talking about tires and stuff, because we were talking about that the other day. If we could just get one, that would be very helpful.
Okay, I think we can make that happen.
Okay. The other day, we had Tish going to the Springs, we had Fonda on the same day, Fonda was going to Canyon, and Stacy stayed here to do visits. So it's just crazy.
And I'm convinced it will save the county money.
Yeah.
Not a lot because we're on a
Yeah.
reimbursement schedule,
Yeah,
but still.
but it's still gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll
So,
save
yes.
the state some money actually too.
Yeah, so, yes, whenever we can get it,
Okay.
sooner the better.
Great.
Would
I
be
will
awesome.
move forward with that.
Okay, okay. So do you have any questions about the first page
Nope.
or anything? Okay.
Nope.
Nope. And then the next one's just the old age pension, that one's the assistance, we don't put any funds for that one in. And LEAP, we're just starting, so you're not gonna see anything there, the first one won't start until November, we won't have the first payment until November, the end of November. But we have certainly been getting LEAP applications in.
Now,
That's
this
for sure.
leap,
Yeah?
year of 2018, 2019.
Oh, that's not right. No, it is. Well, no, that's
Should
not
be
right.
2019.
That should be, you know, my computer crashed.
Oh,
And 9 days, and I didn't have a computer, and they brought me a new one, and it has done weird things
So is it,
into
is the
my
title
reports.
that's wrong or is
Yeah,
the data
no,
wrong?
it's the title is
well,
wrong.
actually, it
should
may
be that.
not be because it goes from November
well, yeah, that's-
18 and then rolls up to January 19, right?
Yeah, but see the dates.
But we don't have anything. Did that end
Well-
in April of 19?
It does. It
Okay.
ends in April of 19,
Okay,
and then we.
it won't start again until.
Yeah, see, it's not right.
So it should be zeros on November.
like it's
and-
all
and
screwed.
It is,
December.
it is
Yeah.
all, it went in, it messed with my Excel things, we're having to figure out, cause it went from Windows 7 to Windows 10, and we don't know if that's what's causing the problem, but it just.
Vernon does, it is.
Well, yeah,
It's not my computer, but I'd be happy to work with it.
oh, really, good, because, yeah, it is, and we'll be, I'm thinking it's okay, and then I'll come back in and it's done some weird funky thing with it. Oh, no, I was looking
You're
at.
describing my
old
world,
No,
so.
I'm on leave.
No, leave is fine,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, leave is fine.
But we're in November of 19 now, right?
Yeah,
So
no,
my
but I'm
thought
going to
was-
change that.
Yeah, okay.
See, I'm showing you, cause it started, this is why,
Right.
but it's okay. It started in November of 18,
Right,
and then it goes through, so I will change that,
Yeah.
because we don't have a new payment yet.
right. So now.
So this is 18-19.
Right.
So it starts
So
here
really now it's
actually.
1920.
I will change that when we get our first payment.
Gotcha.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, no
But
problem.
I'm still having problems with that computer, I just want you to know that.
I understand.
Yeah, it's just.
That's one of the weird ones that rolls over
It's,
into a weird
it
calendar.
does, it does a weird thing on that, so I thought maybe that messed that put down, but no, I was looking at the wrong one anyhow. Okay, and then Medicaid transportation, we're fine, and that's a pass-through, and the dates are right on that one, so we're good.
Community
And-
service.
Community service block grant, And I should get more money in January, hopefully, but we're doing okay. We've gotten more applications recently on that program too.
Is more a lot?
More, well, see, like,
'Cause it's,
yeah, if you look, like in September, I didn't have any.
Right.
October, I think I had one, and this month I've already had 2 or 3. So it just fluctuates, so, I don't, it just depends.
not special this year.
No. And then energy outreach, yeah, we're okay on that, and I just got my new funding, so I'm gonna, but I didn't get it, it didn't start, so I'm gonna fix that too. Next month that will change too, cause that's another one that starts in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
it starts, yeah, so it messes with us there. We can-
BOCC Energy
Energy Outreach
Outreach.
Colorado.
Oh, it is Colorado, okay.
No, I'm sorry, Energy Outreach Grant, BOC. No, what is, yeah, Energy Outreach Colorado, that's right.
So I bring you my
Energy Outreach
latest
Colorado grant, yeah,
propane bill and you can
sure,
reimburse me for that.
sure.
She'll hand you the form and fill it out
No,
in triplicate, and then she'll say you can't have it.
actually we tried, we don't reimburse, what we try to do is, they don't, if they need propane and they don't have the funds, then we will give them some propane.
Gotcha.
But because it's you, I'll reimburse, not really, you're not gonna get reimbursed for anything, I'm just saying. Then, here's, yeah, kinda like Kelly, This is, yeah,
Wow.
here's our food assistance. And we see in the summer months and stuff it goes down, but we're gonna be seeing it come up. And I think that's one reason we had so many leaf applications right away, is cause we had that cold snap, so everybody came,
That's right, it got pretty cold.
it got cold, so we had people in.
And that, it's a little hard to tell here, but that food assistance chart, this really is the number of households, right?
Yes,
That's not right.
no,
That
it
should
should
be
be over here.
And this must be months? Or is there some categories? I don't quite see, we can't read.
No,
Can't
it
read that.
it cuts that off, when I print it, it cuts it off.
I just never have understood.
Oh,
I
I
get
see
the
what
number
you're
of households on the left, on the,
Yeah,
on
Height of
the
the block is the
x-axis,
number.
or the y-axis, but
well,
the
and
x-axis.
if you look down at the next one, that shows the
Mhm.
dollars and it's got the months underneath it.
Right. So
But this
I'm
one's got the start
guessing,
over here.
You got
I'm
different
guessing
colors.
those are months on the bottom.
These here, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
Why would
those
they
are
be color
months.
coded?
Yeah, it's months on the
that
bottom.
should be
that
labeled
would be
months.
That should be months on the
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah, okay.
I'll fix that.
You sure?
Well, no, I'm not.
Oh, well, 'cause-
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What's SNAP?
Oh, God, now you're gonna, supplementary nutritional assistance program.
It's food stamps.
It's the food benefit.
Oh,
Oh,
never
girl.
knew
Oh, yeah.
I just make it up as I go. No.
Good.
It is what it is. Years ago, when I was at a training, they had all these acronyms, and you had to go down and you could see how many you could answer. And being generalists like we are here, we had it over in some of the big counties because they don't do all of these programs, and we were going,
Yeah.
yeah, we did okay. Yeah,
And that snaps on card, debit card.
Goes on the
kinda
debit card.
yeah.
everything goes, everything goes on the debit card now. And then our TFAB is, that's that, so we'll be doing the distribution the 20th of this month for TFAB. And we stay about the same as far as the number of households go.
Good.
Okay, and then you got the MOU,
We did.
and it's just standard and,
Yeah, well, I don't think it's so standard. There's some weirdness in there for
well,
me.
there's a lot of weirdness in, no.
Okay.
Hey, for us, it's great, because
Yeah.
we.
No, I mean, we couldn't, that'd be a royal pain if we had to do it ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
So, the
Royal
thing
pain.
I kinda got, I went, holy cow. They go through the first couple pages, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden they just drop a bomb on trails.
Oh, where are you at?
Page 2 at the bottom. It's the only place in the whole document, I mean, they don't,
Okay.
I'm assuming that's the name of their,
Trails is our system that we use to track our child welfare cases. And it's just called Trails, and somebody said, why do they call it Trails? I really don't know, that's just, it's a trail of, when the kid comes into placement and
Right.
they track them, it's like a trail for
How do you
them.
find them?
Yeah, and so that's why they call it trails.
And then, the fee per report is going up, and we pay that, but do we get, is that pass through?
Well, if you, somewhere in here, it tells you that we don't have to pay,
We have 90 days to,
it was something about, we don't pay unless there's more than, so many reports.
let me see where that
See, projected number was 20, I thought it said less than so many reports, and then after that we start to pay, but if,
Yeah, I think you're right.
yeah, it had to reach a certain amount, and then we paid, and we haven't paid so far. Okay,
Oh, 60, no, let's see.
where is that, yeah. Go back to
I know they're gonna bill us on a 90-day deal, but I can't even find that now.
Oh, Custer County is allocated 48 free child welfare calls.
Page,
Page 1, right at the bottom, rate for service.
oh yeah, 48.
48.
Which you probably would never go over that.
Yeah, we haven't gone over that. Which I subtracted from the total projected report, so we have not,
Right.
so, yeah, we haven't.
So after that, that reporting fee would kick in.
That reported fee would kick in.
Right, okay.
And we haven't gone over our reported, we haven't done that yet.
So do you have regular meetings with Powers? Anybody care,
No, we don't have regular meetings.
coordinate anything,
No.
shake hands?
No,
How
We-
come it is Powers? Why?
I don't know, when they set up the hotline, they set it up in Powers County. I don't know why they did that, and that was the state hotline, and then they could call into the county.
Pretty
number.
far away.
I don't know why they came up with Powers, but, they weren't getting as many hotline calls as they thought, so they turned it over to counties and small counties. If you want to use it all the time, you can, and that's when they came up with
So
this
somebody way
board.
back when cut a deal with Powers
Something.
with us.
Yeah, with statewide, yeah, and then a bunch of us small counties jumped on, so we didn't have to have somebody in here all the time to handle those hotline calls
Which
that
is
you
a
may,
good thing.
you may not get. And so, yeah, we all jumped on that, and so,
We dropped the ball here a little bit, but I think we'll press on anyway, and we'll talk to our admin assistant about this. We should have had possible pending action here too. I'm gonna move that we approve the MOU with Hotline County Connection Center.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Hotline County Connection Center MOU. Discussion?
Was there a deadline on it?
now they just said, get it back to them.
And who approves it for them? You know,
Ann Williams
Ann
for the
Williams,
state.
who was the
yeah.
hotline
And
person.
then
she's
there,
a hotline.
Broward. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries.
And then after everybody signs it, they'll send us, one that's with everybody's signature on it.
Right.
Good.
Powers Lamar.
Yeah. When that first came about, we had a guy come up and talk to us about, help us set up the hotline. And I'm not sure he's still there or not, but anyhow, and then he talked to us about hooking up with Powers, and so, but, this guy, the manager now, I don't know who he is, he's somebody new.
But there's several other counties that are all.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All of southeast.
A lot of the small counties have done that, I think almost every small county has done that, because it's just easier.
All right, very good.
This. And they said that you'd already signed up for, or not signed up, but RSVP for that.
I did, yes ma'am.
What's that?
I just got that yesterday. So
It's a launch meeting, not a lunch meeting.
I didn't even notice that. I didn't type that, that had nothing to do with my computer this time, okay?
Pasta and salad.
But I'll probably go too, because they've got a concern about daycare services for Custer and Fremont, but I don't know.
What was the time, 5:30 to 8?
5:30
If you
to 8.
wanna travel together, we can make that
Yeah,
arrangement.
I was gonna talk to you about that.
Okay.
Silly for both of us to
Sure.
drive.
Yeah. I was planning to leave there and go straight to Vegas if you wanna do that.
That'd be fine, that'd be great. If
Um,
not, bring
go to
your own
Triple
car,
Crown.
right?
That's right, yeah, that's exactly right, so.
Yeah, and I just got that yesterday, and, they had said in there that Tom had already RSVP'd, and I'm like, well, this is the first time I've even seen it, so, okay. So I'll go back to them on that.
Yep, okay, very good.
Okay,
Anything else?
what about our,
Waiting
wall?
on the door.
Okay, still
Yeah,
waiting
as
on,
soon as it comes in, then I'll know we can.
okay, so cause we, we're talking about doing it this weekend, but we don't know. 'Cause-
No.
No, absolutely not, okay, perfect, okay.
No, and once we get the door, I will let you know, and then you'll have adequate time
Okay.
to do your stuff.
Okay,
And
perfect.
really, it would almost be you telling me when, and then I'll
Okay,
move
that's all I
forward
needed
with
to
that.
know, cause we were talking, cause it was a 3-day weekend, but the door hasn't come in, so.
No,
that's-
3-day weekend?
Yeah, it's Veterans Day.
Well, we're not gonna go to work again this Friday.
No,
Or Monday.
Monday.
Could take Friday off if you want to.
You can come if you want, Tom.
Irritates me that we don't get to come to work all the time.
Well,
You
I
with
don't know
me
what
or-
to tell you.
You
I-
with me or not?
I come to work all the time, so I don't
Come
know
on
what to
Monday
tell
if you
you.
want.
I'm gonna be here on Monday, cause I got stupid commodities.
Be
Oh,
as
didn't
lonely
you
as
say that?
Rusty was.
I have commodities coming in, so I have to wait for commodities to come in.
Well, I'll come by and commiserate with you.
Oh,
then.
it's okay, but I'm gonna be here Monday for a while, cause I have
Alright.
to get commodities.
Well, we will, yeah, I'll
Now,
let you
when
know.
I, signed the MOU.
You
though-
got it.
Oh, yeah, it's right there, okay. So, yes, okay, that's
Alright,
right.
get outta here.
Okay, I'll
Take your signed
And
MOU.
you,
and-
yes, and Kelly, do you need a copy of my signed MOU? Okay, well, if you're nice to
When you
me,
get it all back, right?
I'll
with
get
all
it,
the
and if
signatures,
she's
correct.
nice to me, I'll get it.
I'm sure she'll be nice to you.
Probably not.
Always nice.
See you guys. Bye.
And, good morning, sir, you're welcome. I have a quick comment to the back, but you're,
a couple of those. Oh, yeah, okay, just curious. I'm not.
Good morning.
how are you, sir?
Good morning.
So, gentlemen, by consent, I would like to ask our administrative assistant if we can take this possible pending action item statement and move it up following the semicolon after staff reports, that it applies to all of them, because we just voted on something that was not on the agenda. So I'm thinking instead of putting it by each one, we put it up there, all staff reports may have.
You want a general category, is what you're saying?
Yeah, what do you think about that? Or staff reports may bring pending action items or something, I don't know how we do that, but they may not always tell Kara either. So I'd just like to get us a little blanket coverage there.
They're supposed to.
You
told
both
them
do. We told them to.
If you did that, how would the public know that
What's
they had an
special?
issue they might want to discuss or not
Yeah.
discuss?
They'd have to come.
And usually you ought to put down what the pending action
This
might
was
be.
as much, I'm speaking, this is as much an administrative item as it was, I mean, so I don't have a problem signing an administrative item. But, I don't know,
What if she come in with a lease to lease a new car?
and that's my point exactly. That would
It's
be
not always gonna be
an administrative.
That's
something as mundane as this, so I just think we'd be a little better off getting a blanket statement up there rather than doing what we just did, which I'm not real thrilled about.
Well, but Tom, sometimes a new car thing isn't an emergency, so it can be put on an agenda. And usually if they got it coming in, something like that, they should put down what your action item
I
might
agree,
be.
they
Otherwise,
should,
the
and-
right public guys can't get here to.
And we've indicated to them that they need to let Kara know if it's gonna be something with an action item, but I'm sure Laura didn't think signing an MOU that we've signed year in and year out.
But we didn't need to sign it today either.
But would that be your biggest concern, that how would people know?
Yes. I think for true transparency, if someone has an action item and it's not on the agenda as an action item, we do a postponement.
And if we do that publicly, they'll stop not remembering to do it. You know, if we say, well, we're not gonna consider it.
Well, I agree with you, Bill, but the problem is sometimes people don't realize it's an action item. I mean, signing a little MOU, is that really an action item or not? I could understand Ms. Laura's thinking,
Right.
probably not, you
Right.
know, when we think it might be, so
Right.
this is a quandary.
Maybe we need to change the wording to, cause maybe people don't get pending action. Possible vote by commissioners, I don't know. I mean, that's what a pending action is, for crying out
So
loud, but.
maybe we need to send a note to the direct reports to us, saying that there's something that's going to be signed or there will be a vote to accept. We must notify.
Which we've done that, but you're saying maybe we need to do it
Keep
again.
reminding
And I think we need,
Doesn't hurt.
I'm not real comfortable just blanketing,
Okay,
we're gonna vote on an item
okay.
without public having knowledge that there could be
Could be,
issues to discuss.
Could be some.
You know, and Commissioner Candace right, we can always well, we have the right to postpone it. It may not be to the benefit of our staff to postpone something just because
You need
we
to tell us.
didn't have it down as a pending action item on our agenda, that's all. But I can only kick a horse so far and so fast, so we'll
I don't know, maybe a
we'll
vote.
continue to have
maybe
this
a vote.
discussion. I don't wanna put the onus on Kara to say, before our meetings, every staff report, you gotta call all these people and remind them, it does become incumbent upon them to do it, so we'll just see.
But who brings it in for the agenda item in this case?
Well,
Doesn't the
they're all-
VSO
they're-
have a possible pending action flag it? Who flagged that? Did John do that to tell her? Or?
No, those are ones that they had said, got to just
Because
put it
that
on
has,
there.
that always has the
Sign.
one we always sign.
Right,
Right.
So, you know,
that's,
it is,
Well,
I don't
I
think
mean,
it,
if we took it one step further, we have VSO, that one does says possible
Right.
pending action because we approve his report on a
right,
monthly
Oh,
basis.
exactly, and that's why it's on there.
That's,
That's exactly appropriate.
Right. But for these others, not just today, but tomorrow as well, if it's not something we know that we regularly do, case in point, sitting in front of us, maybe he had something today he wanted us to sign,
I would be
to get,
reluctant.
you know, so.
but I don't think it's hard for Karen to, we have a stock recipe here. It's not hard for us to say, hey, Vern, you got something that you want him to sign, and we'll put it on.
Okay. And if I do that, I will, make certain that I notify
Yeah.
you. Cause
And-
I understand that you
Not
want,
just
you
your
need to be
department.
front loaded about what's
Right.
going
I
on.
wasn't picking on you.
Absolutely, no, absolutely.
No, and I just,
Yeah.
I'm just not sure that it's Kara's responsibility or this office's responsibility to call every staff member and ask them, do you have
She's our
something we
admin,
want
we
to
can
vote on?
make it, so it's just our, that's
I think
what
it's
part
the
of it.
staff,
They're adults.
the staff's responsibility to say, good chance I need you guys to vote on this, or tell Kara that, but we can have a conversation too, today and tomorrow, we dismissed it with Laura, but, good, okay, let's move on.
Move on there,
So-
Mr. IT.
Good morning, sir, how are you?
Good morning, I'm well, thank you.
Good, good,
Well.
good, good, good.
It's been a eventful but fairly regular month.
Hmm.
I've been training Alex, my new assistant, to be able to fulfill all the duties, and he's doing very well.
Yeah, I met him, and he's
He's just,
very
he is
capable of
just
that.
snapping it up like
Good.
crazy. It was great.
Good.
We have worked on, I realized I didn't get down here. We've worked on that fire project that, for the ISO rating, to find all the residences within 5 mile radius of each fire station, and that has gone incredibly well.
Good.
We just snapped right to it, and it's done well. So
Good.
it's been exciting.
Now, you do have that on your agenda though, right? I mean, on your report.
You know,
GIS.
I do not, I didn't actually get that on.
5 Mile Drive map.
Oh, there it is,
system.
that's right,
Yeah.
it's at the bottom, sorry.
So I got a question about that, it was
What's
brought
up?
to me, so I'll pass it on to you. Who's paying for that mapping? Is the county or is the fire?
County's paid for
Okay,
Right.
should we be?
it. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I think we shouldn't,
That's,
but,
that's
that's why I brought it to the attention. I didn't just take it on as a project in the beginning, was
This is
to
not
talk about that.
criticism to
Okay.
you. This
Yeah,
is a
no, I almost called you and I
commissioner
thought, well,
decision that we need to make.
we'll have a chance to discuss it with you this morning, so I thought rather than have to talk about it to me on the phone at 8:30 and again here
Understood.
at 10:30. So, Fires asked you to develop these maps locating their cisterns and this 5-mile radius.
Right. The cistern was actually, has been on an ongoing project.
Okay.
Chuck started that about 6 years ago. We've gotten rid of the cisterns that weren't there, anymore. We've inputted the data for the new cistern and created an actual map and directions to each, so fire can go to each cistern located in the county pretty easily. That's the cistern system. The 5-mile drive map, that was the project wherein we needed, it's taken about 30 hours. We reached the culmination point, just like I said last month. We've mapped all the driving distances along each road from each fire station for 5 miles out, found every residence and parcel and address within that driving distance, and then mapped it throughout the county. And we have about 65% coverage with the new 2 proposed fire stations that are going in, that will raise their ISO rating. I apologize, last time I had the wrong nomenclature. The ISO rating, and it will actually in the long term lower fire insurance premiums, because people will be able to say, look, they can point to the map and say, I am within the 5-mile radius of the fire station. Yes, sir.
If the commissioners chose to bill your hours for working on this type of project, would you be willing to come up with what you feel on an hourly basis?
Okay.
So we can estimate how many hours we're talking about, and your office, and we would approve this.
Okay.
How much money per hour IT is going to charge outside agencies?
Can I say something?
Sure.
You guys already decided on this.
We did. What did we decide?
Was that a month ago or 2 months ago?
About 2 months ago.
When Kit was here and you guys all talked about it, and you decided if he had the time to do it, to just let him do it.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about this particular one. This is already done deal. I'm just thinking about, should we have a policy for the future if, I don't know, an outside taxing district comes to IT and said, would you help me? It's certainly in our county's best interest to say yes, but if they're a separate taxing district, they really ought to be reimbursed in the county. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I remember us doing that. I kind of got confused on what that was versus what this was.
Okay.
I hadn't even thought about that. If it's one and the same, if it is, then I believe Kelly's correct.
I'm open to whatever is required. Part of my job description as IT for the county is the support of the CES entities. Some of the community emergency services entities are part of the county. Some of them are in the county, and some of them are entities that aren't part of the county. And so when we have a fire, we do bill, let's say, Forest Service for maps that I've created for fighting a fire on Forest Service land.
And who determines what that invoice would be, how much per map? I mean, how do?
There's a billing guideline outlined by statutes. OEM has them. We basically bill for a certain amount of hours, and we've given them hours, and we've given them cost of materials, that type of thing. But there's also the fact that they do fight fires that aren't in the county yet, but could get there. So where do we? I think that this is a larger discussion that we need to see. We need to decide how we're going to be handling things. I created maps for the fire. I create maps for because of being GIS. I have the data that nobody else has.
Right.
I create maps for different entities that need to know distances and residences and whatnot. So I don't know how we define that yet, and I think that's part of the larger conversation that we should have.
Yeah, I would agree with you. My concern was, are you doing stuff for outside entities and we're not getting paid for it? That was my concern.
I understand. I
We
think we
already
need to
have
create a
this
policy
agreement with fire.
that defines that,
Right.
those stages.
Right.
Like I said, part of my job description and the IT department is to support the emergency services. So I don't know where we,
Yeah,
I
is it
don't
to
have
support
the-
emergency
yeah.
services, or is it to support county emergency services? You know, again, we've talked about it almost every meeting for the last 3 or 4 meetings, is policies and procedures.
I've thought about it a little bit,
Mhm.
and to me, it's sort of, in the beginning, there was the country, and in the beginning, there were the counties, and the counties had to neck it down, and they started delegating responsibilities by the county government at the time. And so, where do you draw the line? Do we charge the school to run buses on our county roads to maintain them? No, we maintain them for that district, the hospital district. We maintain the roads for them, or other things you can come up with in this service, sort of like this. That seems to me is a county service to allow our county, and we have those responsibilities. We delegated the ambulance, for example, to the hospital district, but we didn't. And of course, that was for future discussion. We didn't say it was just part of the district or county. It was for all the county. So you can delegate that. So I think it's a policy thing, and it's probably been implied because in the beginning we are a county to start with, and then they subdivided it into separate ways to handle more efficiently. So we can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've asked, just did it the other day, asked Vern to print up a map. It was for county business. If any entity, I don't care who it is, library, doesn't matter, if they come to you and say, hey, I need a map about this. Okay, here's our fee schedule for maps.
Mhm.
Or I need this data. Well, I'm not employed by the hospital district, so I'm gonna have to charge you for that. That's where I'm headed. It doesn't matter to me what
Someplace
entity
maybe
it
you can
is.
break it.
Okay.
The library district wanted a map of all the books in the county. Well, guess what? We don't do that. You're gonna have to pay for that.
That's right.
So, yeah, I would
Outside of
encourage.
my scope of practice
Right.
there.
Or if it wasn't, we'd have to budget for it. That would be a decision that we would have to.
I would
So
encourage.
right
Charge
now,
them.
in that regard, when an entity that is outside of the county comes to me for a map, generally we charge them a set fee, unless it's emergency services.
What's your definition?
What's that?
How do you determine
Yeah.
what that fee is? This is where I'm
Cost
having
plus a
issues.
certain, so for instance, a map, I don't have any up here, so for instance, a map of that size, I would probably charge $20.
And where did you come up with that number?
It's what has been in place with IT. That's,
Is there a schedule?
it's
Is there
the,
a list? Do you open a book and go, I don't know what size it is, but whatever size, 12 by 14.
Mhm.
A 12 by 14 map is gonna cost $80 or whatever. Or is this a number you pull out of the air?
No, this is what the numbers that were handed to me by the previous director.
So you have them written
So-
down somewhere?
They're written down somewhere in planning and zoning, yes.
Yeah, I just
I
think-
can go find them,
Right.
I don't know
I'm
where they
asking
are,
you
but
to
I
do that.
know they are.
I'm trying to say where I'm going with this, and
Okay.
I'm not, please don't take this as anything.
Mhm.
First of all, we as a county need to produce maps, or if you can help anybody in this county to help the county run better, I'm in favor of it. But if we have separate tax districts, they ought to pay a fee. And if they're gonna pay a fee, then we ought to have a procedure. And the
Okay.
procedure is, this is this amount. If it's hours of research,
Mhm.
you're gonna charge $50 an hour, whatever the
Okay.
number is. We ought to have a policy as to what that is. That's all I'm going for.
And I
But
completely agree with that,
appreciate
because
your
it takes away the
ability.
ambiguity from me too.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
I
And
don't
then they
think
you
can't
have
be
to
yelling,
put it
well,
in
wait a
the
minute.
Not only have to have a fee schedule, you gotta have who has to pay the fee, so that it's equitable, or nobody's gonna argue.
Mhm.
What's an outside agency to?
Mhm.
Right, if they're not under the county umbrella, they're an outside agency, correct?
if that's what we're gonna define it as.
Yeah,
Like I said, in my job description, it says support CES too, so we need to define it, I think.
Right,
And-
we're not putting this on you,
Okay.
this is our job.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and supporting could be, yes, I'll do it,
Mhm.
I'll support you with that, but it's gonna cost you.
Right, that
See,
has to be established.
Versus saying, no, we're not gonna do that for you at all, that would be non-support. I mean, we're splitting hairs, but this is on us, that's right.
Then it comes back to the freedom of information. I get requests for information on a semi-regular basis. There's a certain amount of free information that has to be researched and disseminated. And interestingly, 90% of the time, the information comes in free. It comes in under the threshold, and Donna could tell you the threshold.
You're
I don't know.
entitled to charge, if it's a core request, you're entitled to charge for a reasonable cost for assembling the information that's requested.
If it is over a certain time period,
After an hour.
after an hour,
Right.
90% of this work is done in less than an hour.
Right, yeah.
It's pretty quickly.
Well, I
mean,
just
even-
would like to
yeah.
see maybe us work on a policy. There's no reason for us to try to write a policy.
I can work on a policy and then present it to you next month if that's
Perfect.
what you'd like to see.
Alright.
Just to see, there aren't a lot of policies in the IT department that
Don't
we
give
can
your
work on.
services away.
Right.
Okay.
It's only right.
Okay.
Well, and I think because it's always been done, people have just expected, oh, I'll just call
That's right.
Vernon, he'll do it. Well, wait a minute, maybe he won't do it.
Okay.
And can I make a
Yes, ma'am.
suggestion? So like on copies of maps, I think those prices always came from JD, cause that's where really the maps started before
It's
Chuck
printed.
and I bought that map machine.
Oh, okay.
And that map machine is half mine.
Okay. All right. I will remember that now.
And, but I think that on costs of maps and stuff like that, we all need to be in the same boat, cause
Okay.
you don't wanna charge $20 for a map that I'm charging $10.
Exactly.
And some of my charges are by statute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we need to follow, then we should all follow the
Right.
statute if that's.
Or
what it is.
priced per statute, this is our
This is
price,
our-
or
yeah.
by statute,
Some-
whichever.
Some of those are set for the citizens to pay, so that's why
So,
they came up.
just another
with the interagency.
procedure in running a county business that's,
Thank you for the
More
clarification.
government interference in
Yeah.
personal lives.
Then what I propose is I
We do.
will sit down with Kelly and I will sit down with JD and we'll
Okay.
figure out
and it doesn't have to be next
a
month.
set schedule for that and
Yeah,
then
we-
create a policy.
We've gotten this far,
I'm
this
just
long,
concerned
get it done
we
in
need
good
to be
time.
equitable with
Okay.
everybody, and that's all.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and my opinion isn't have to be next month necessarily. I
Okay.
just think it's something we ought to deal with for the
Alright.
next few months, whatever your time would allow. But thank you for that. So, okay, sorry, I digressed. Anything else on here you wanna jump on?
Nothing big. It's just,
Okay.
moving forward with, Alex has, helped to move forward with some pretty significant projects. Put project research on him, database stuff and vice versa, and it's been really phenomenal. We're moving forward with, some projects for the sheriff's department that have been a long time coming, so we're doing well.
Good.
Can I just say that
Yes,
Alex has been good too, cause there's a lot of times you're not over there when we need you. And since you've had Alex, we call, is Vernon there? No, do you need something? And he comes right over and does it.
Wow,
And
that's
so
good.
that's helped a lot.
That's good to know.
I'm sending you an email.
Not that I'm gone a lot, it's just that I'm.
No, you're
I'm
just.
gonna comment on, so, Vernon, where are you?
He's just out.
Well, the airport has a great lounge.
Bar.
Oh, I haven't found that one yet.
So I'm sending you this email right now on the statewide internet portal
Okay.
authority that we
Alright.
talked about the other day. I'm
Wonderful,
sorry, I
thank you.
just dropped the ball. And so we have been awarded a grant from them. As
Okay.
I mentioned, this whole live streaming thing went through them, so
Okay.
we're in their system. Cause
Oh,
one of the
nice.
first questions is, you must have an agreement on file, and I'm sure that we
Okay.
do. So I'm gonna send you that. Not that
Alright.
I'm expecting you to write it, I would be willing to do that. But if you could say, oh yeah, let's do this,
Okay.
then let's move forward with that if we can.
Will do.
Cause we did get a SIPA grant and they sent out a notice of, funding, so I talked with.
I just wanna make it clear that my concern was procedure, it had nothing to do with, your office has always been open to help everybody who needs it, and I appreciate that. Please don't take that as a negative against you.
Well, I feel like this is a conversation that
Needs to take.
it's in the air and everyone needs to have it, so.
Correct. I just wanted to clarify
Okay, I appreciate that, thank you, yeah.
This has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about county procedure.
Gotcha,
Conversation needs to be had, not everybody gets to be involved,
gotcha.
right?
Well, I'm just saying, policies,
Yes,
a policy conversation
yes,
seems to be in the air.
thank you, yes, yeah, I thought you meant.
What else?
No.
All right, anything else, sir?
Nope, I believe that's
Thank
it.
you, buddy, appreciate
Thank
it,
you, sir.
yeah.
See you later, Vernon.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
Big John.
Is the oh my gosh for me?
No, the oh my gosh was for other stuff. Good morning, sir, how are you?
See John.
Next on our agenda is VSO report.
Vista.
Alright, gentlemen, it's been kind of an average month as far as office visits. I did do 14 home visits this month, mainly because of the snow.
Okay. Did we get this?
Yes.
It looks funky, it's a funky name.
Yeah, and I changed all the ones I had. I just do not have it, so I may not have uploaded it to my packet.
I think it's that, is it that?
No, that's the agenda.
I may not have changed the name before.
Yeah,
I changed the name on mine too, cause it was a different name, but.
Okay, let me just look real quick. Yeah, we get ours from Laura, it's got a weird number attached to it,
Yeah.
this and that, so,
Jay, what's the name of yours over there?
Well, I'm sorry, I changed it to Veterans Report,
Yeah,
because it
I don't
had some
remember what
strange
it
numbers
was.
or
It
whatever,
did.
I don't
It had
remember.
like a long number.
Sorry
Right.
to say.
yeah.
I'll try to remember to make sure that I put VSO report on it when I send it to Laura.
It makes it easy if you do that.
Probably you just have a template and you just been.
You got an
Yeah.
extra copy there with
Whatever
you or
it's-
not?
gets
If
sent.
not,
It's
it'll
not
be
an
different.
extra, that
That's
one's
what I
mine.
can look, yeah. Okay, sorry, my mistake,
I
I
got
just
you,
didn't
help
get it,
you look off of this.
I just didn't get it uploaded.
Not a lot of,
Yeah, I think I just found it.
Oh, did you
too,
find it?
so.
Okay. Do you have one, Jay?
Thank
I have
you.
it, thank you.
No, that's Road and Bridge.
so not a lot of new, claims started, just 4, two, let me see. I did have, 2 records that I had to get from National Archives, and then we did start 2 appeals for a couple of Vietnam veterans. The Vietnam veterans, specifically the Thailand veterans, are the biggest challenge getting those through to the VA. As far as Veterans Trust Funds, we have not done a distribution since mid-October. We will be doing one on Tuesday, since Monday is Veterans Day. But we have had a bunch of requests for rental assistance, utilities, and a lot of people coming in for food. I do have a new freezer, and I also got a large donation of meat from Westcliff Meats, so that's going quite well. The Thanksgiving meal that we're doing, the 100 meals for the county, we're up to, as of Monday, we were up to $1,700 that we've raised for the $2,000 that we need. Delivery is scheduled for 22 November. It's basically just going to be a moving van in the school parking lot, and we will notify everybody that has filled out an application form. I've actually given application forms to the school. I'm going to give them to the sharing center on Friday, and then we've had other application forms sent out.
And so they have to have filled out an application form, they can't just pull in off the street?
We're gonna make sure that we have, we're hoping to have about 20 extras, just to make sure that we have, something
you know, for anybody that just kinda pops up. This being our first year, we're just kinda feeling it out to see how it goes. Of course, Veterans Day banquet at Alpine Lodge on Sunday. Veterans Day breakfast on Monday, we're kinda still up in the air on because the Saddle Club is, doesn't have water. But all of this has been advertised, will be advertised this week in the papers, and, it is in honor of Bill Borges. So, and also,
Give me a note on that, will you? And I'll take it to his wife.
I talked to Donna, I let her know. The only thing I haven't let her know is I did get, Bill's DD 214 in the mail finally, so if you want, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'll take it up to him. How many breakfasts in the past have we done?
As far as,
Veterans Day
Veterans Day
breakfast,
breakfast, what did we serve last year?
Couple hundred?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
So it needs a pretty big room.
It does.
Lang
And-
Hall,
That's what I'm gonna approach
Yeah,
today,
that's what I was
because I
gonna
just found
suggest.
out.
yeah.
Well, that one's out of my hands.
It'd probably be warmer than the Saddle Club too.
True, it's out close, not real warm on early mornings. But, you know, that one's not on me, that one's American Legion on that one, so, other than that, nothing in the works. We're gonna try to do Christmas baskets as well, once we figure out what money we have left over after them paying the $2,000. The VFW and the American Legion personnel have been going around and getting the donations from different businesses and things like that, so that is all on them. I'm just kinda trying to make sure everything is organized, and we're not gonna have anybody show up with hey, I'm supposed to get a meal and we don't have any meals, so.
Right. Good.
Other than that, gentlemen, that is all I have.
I'll go ahead and move that we approve the Veteran Services Office monthly report
Good.
for October 2019.
I'll second.
We moved and seconded to approve the VSO report. Discussion. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Office space. I'm assuming that's an expense. On the last page of your report,
Office space,
$198.
those are my electric and propane bills. I don't have the exact current one
Okay.
for this month, but that is about the average.
So we don't have a utilities line item on here.
No.
Okay, so you just put that in your office space expenses, I
Yes,
guess.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Oop, motion carries. Got a little premature there on the old bang stick. Sorry.
Bill, I'll drop that DD 214 off here.
Good, yeah. If I'm not here, Carol will get it to me.
Can we take a minute before we move on to?
Let's get this taken care of here.
Monday? Thank you.
Anything else, sir?
That is all I have, gentlemen.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you for coming in. Good to see ya.
Thanks, John. You need special glasses that look at that watch? I'm curious about it.
It's my Dick Tracy watch.
And
He's got one too.
I would take this opportunity to inform council that the little building project over in the VSO office is completed, correct?
Yes, it is. It is complete and is actually
Because-
working well. I've had a couple of
Good.
veterans that I've had to close both doors, and it is a good thing to have. So,
Good.
Is the heat, airflow okay?
yeah, everything's
Doors shut
working.
down?
Yeah, everything's working well. Even when I close the door at night, there's no issues with temperature changes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I only bring that up because council's been adamant about projects not getting done.
That one is done, and my
I wanna see you on
new
the ladder
sign
out
for the
there
building
doing
is in the
those
works
lights.
as well. So
The what?
the new sign for the building is in the
Oh.
works as well. So
Oh, good.
Ivan is working
Ross
on that.
looks terrific.
So
Can I ask you a question?
yes, ma'am.
So, somebody called yesterday or the day before about using the, annex.
And they called
And
me.
we told them that, or I told them, I said, you need to, it's still my understanding, they can't use it during the day till after 4, and they need to put, I mean, is the calendar still up there? That
Calendar's
they just
still up.
come?
Yeah, calendar's still up, and it's probably good to just have them call me,
Okay.
and then they're gonna pick up the key from the sheriff's office.
Okay, so the key's still up there, okay, good. I just wanted
I
to
hope it is,
clarify that
otherwise
that
they're
was
gonna call
still
me
right,
and
yeah.
tell me to come in and unlock the door.
Another
So,
policy issue, cause there's nothing, I don't believe, written about that. All of this verbal agreement and
Yeah.
stuff, so. Yeah, all right, sir, thank you, appreciate it. By consent, gentlemen, about a 3-minute break.
Thank you.
Works for me.
We're in recess.
You can get out here if you want, Jay, or you get around there.
Don't come over here, you go your own way. Come on.
Yeah, you know, it's
You know what, it
even
was on
worse.
Fox News and stuff.
It's been on national and international.
Fox News.
But you know what's worse? The guy that just moved here this past year to do that, originally was from Thousand Oaks,
How are you?
my hometown, and
Really?
lived a half a mile from
The guy
my
that was
mom's.
doing it?
Yeah.
You're cute.
Yeah. So you're in Pueblo? Yeah. I hadn't heard of
You hadn't heard about that?
Well, I've been in the dungeon.
You haven't been
doing
watching TV, it's
election
on
stuff.
Fox News.
I don't have
Fox and Friends.
I don't have.
Well, pay for it. You make all kinds of.
And it was on all the internet news and.
It was really amazing. And he
Yeah.
was a nut. He did, but he was stupid. And that's what him broadcast. He had a website and he was saying, I'm gonna get it.
The, Andy Duffman, had found out about him in 2016, so they were tracking him.
What would you
and
like?
they turned it over to the FBI. So
Oh,
the
yeah,
FBI
the camera.
became
That's
buddies
right.
with him.
A bit of
And
an issue
then-
too. They did, they went and sold him 1 sticks of dynamite. And they didn't tell him.
I know, that's what I was like,
Yeah.
they made me keep chocolate here. So I just get a little
So they
bowl
arrested him
of,
Friday afternoon.
Jolly Ranchers and things like that too, to have, but, cause everybody in the courthouse comes and nobody
Well, you know, because they, FBI ended up saying.
But I need to do different, because I am that, I don't ever sit down with him.
I would appreciate that because we're gonna end up being there anyway.
So this happened Friday.
That's because.
So let,
I didn't
so,
tell us Saturday.
They
didn't tell us.
I mean.
yeah, we don't wanna,
I need to have that girl do it, talk about those daughters started getting all this. That they're not. Or, you know, something, yes, where, anyway, so one of those, she's like, well, that was done quick, let me have another one.
I know.
Sometimes, tiny little thing, I just get a big size, and, yeah, that's what, I don't put chocolate in our house, for that reason, cause I don't
you don't
keep
put
it there.
anything on it.
And that's the thing that my daughter likes, I don't even eat them.
How about postponing
So,
until?
I don't go to the whole lot. We hear about it on the news, we hear about it on the news. And now I got back in the habit. And then I was going,
So.
I'm
talking about November.
Yeah, so everything's fine.
Yeah, I've got
Everything
to-
with the council
we
member,
gotta
she
find out.
started to go.
and it's sitting all day. I'm so used to not
We have
sitting
a
all
security
day.
guard out of our
Being
house.
active.
Security
For
guard.
my kids makes a big difference.
Most of the time, we just have.
I mean, when you get one of those desks that you can stand
Well,
to.
come on, I keep it down there, and I was like, don't
Yeah,
come
Linda's
here,
very
or I'm not
expensive.
emailing you, I'll always just, I'll walk more often, so I try to get up
So
and
we
walk as
wanna
much
put in
as
a
possible,
full
just to
security
do a
system.
little bit.
So one of the temples
Gotta get you one of
And it
those,
helps keep me away.
Some guy
things you
from
put on the
Buffalo
desk there to raise it up and
$1,000.
stand.
I know, well,
My
yeah,
sister
Susan
did
just got
it.
one. She's got the standing desk or whatever, yes, where she can stand or sit.
That's a good
Donated
I want a
100.
treadmill desk.
Why
And
not?
this guy
I think that would be
1,000.
she's very slow,
Nice.
you know, so she's very easy to walk and you're still moving.
When does
And it's
a
working.
in-house
Grab one.
way of
Yes,
doing
just
things
something, yeah.
become grandfathered in as a policy? You know, I was sitting there, I yell at my screen and y'all don't hear me. But in the same meeting, you basically said that the one at the road and bridge that they've been going by for years is not a policy and you need to make a policy. But at the same time then, when it came to selling the land, you say, well, you know, wait a minute, we don't really have a policy, but this is the way we've been doing things.
Right.
So, I mean, it seems like it's come up over and over and over again, and it seems like if they've been doing something for, 30 years in a certain way, that's sort of grandfathered in that's a policy in my mind, but.
Yeah, not mine.
Well, I know, cause I've listened to you say it over and over again.
But I think that is a practice, it's not, and a procedure, it is, and we're
But you
fighting with it on
cannot
another
have
level.
a policy for everything. You're gonna handcuff all of your department heads, when they have to think, well, do we have to go get a policy for this? Well, we've been doing,
But, and I agree, not
Ad
everything, but
nauseam.
land sales and those kinds of things, there should be a policy in place to deal with that. Maybe not, is there a policy in place to have a colored map versus a black and white map? No, I get that, but there are some things, I believe, that should be governed by policy.
And we can have that discussion.
I just, those were some observations.
Yeah, no, I agree, I thought the same thing when we talked about the land sales thing. So, alright, meeting will reconvene. Any unfinished items of business, gentlemen?
Not for me, sir.
I would be blown away if there were. New business. First item is consideration of the REACH agreement. Commissioner Prince.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I asked to put this on the agenda, thinking that we might have information back from REACH, for the air ambulance service we're talking about. Since that information is not available at this point, I would move that we postpone that action, or that item, until the November 27th hearing, meeting.
Alright.
BOCC meeting.
I will second your motion, sir. Been moved and seconded to postpone the REACH agreement item until November 27th BOCC meeting. Discussion?
So who's doing it? Who's building the agreement? You get your team?
Yeah, no, this
Who's doing
is
it?
totally separate
I don't
from the
know.
ambulance. Tom has, I
Yeah.
don't want to speak for you, but Tom's been speaking with them, we're waiting to get the agreement back from them, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him and kind of formalize that. I certainly didn't tell him what we had decided, because we hadn't decided anything. But I will pursue that with him again and tell him we're ready to move forward, maybe in a little more formal approach, if that's. And my general thinking is, ask him to write an agreement to include coverage for all the residents and anybody in our county at any given point in time, which that's kind of his wording.
Sort of picking up on the discussion we had when they spoke at the clinic.
Yeah.
Right.
Is REACH, does it stand for something? Should it be in all caps?
Yes, it is.
It's their name.
It is?
Yeah, REACH Air Ambulance.
Is it
But
in caps?
it's like a,
All caps.
She says it's in caps.
oh, yeah, it's like a,
It is in all caps, that's their,
So our
name of their
is all
ambulance.
caps.
So it doesn't
I'm sorry,
say
it's not that.
Not that I'm aware of. It might,
not an
rural
acronym.
emergency air,
Probably started out like that,
But-
who knows?
everything I've seen, those are capitalized letters, yes. That's the name of their company. And they're a subsidiary of two other, they have different, Global Medical Research, GMR, is the parent company for AMR. And GMR is also the parent company for REACH. But I will move forward with that if that's the group's pleasure. Any further discussion?
Let me just, if I may, I just want to clarify.
Good.
The AMR portion of this has nothing to do with the REACH air
This is
ambulance
air
discussion.
ambulance.
I just want to make that very clear, because
Air ambulance.
there is discussion about ground ambulance that we're nowhere near a decision at this point.
And to follow that vein, air ambulance could be fixed or rotary wing. They don't distinguish between the two. Any further discussion? Excuse me. Public comment? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor of postponement until 11/27, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Next item of business, consideration of subsidizing the EMS ambulance service to portions outside of the hospital district, correct? I think they all are eastern, but, you have a rep here to speak to that, or
Well,
I'll
I
turn the
was
floor
gonna
over to
speak, but
you?
you're certainly welcome to come join us, Ms. Washington, if you'd like to, please.
Good morning, thank you for coming, thank you for serving on that committee, actually.
You've sat a long time waiting, thank you.
You gotta shake my hand.
Okay.
You can say hi to Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Floor is yours, Commissioner Prince.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Washington, please just jump in if I say something that we didn't agree with, because I want to portray what our group is going to make a recommendation. So what I'd like to do is start by making a motion. Let's go ahead.
So, what we're going to hear here is from the joint committee.
No, sir. Hang on a second. Let me rethink that. Let me explain, and then we can decide whether it's a joint committee or not, because it's.
Okay.
Let me give a little bit of history. The county advisory group, exclusive of the hospital group, met to decide what do we think is the best way to approach ambulance service for outside the West Custer County Hospital District for the folks who weren't getting ambulance service. Now, we were all at the meeting when the West Hospital District voted and approved that they would continue to send ambulance service outside their district until January 20th of 2020. Our group discussed this at length, exclusive of the hospital district, and said that's not enough time. If they cut it off on January 20th, 2020, just a couple of months away, there is a strong potential that there would be no ambulance service for Custer County residents outside the hospital district. So our group came to a consensus that if we subsidized the West Custer County Hospital District for the amount of money they would have received had the mill levy been received, it's about $14,000 a year, would the hospital district continue to service the ambulance through the end of 2020, so we'd have time to put a ballot initiative out for the folks at the eastern portion of the county who are not served right now. So our committee made a recommendation, we put it on paper, then in a joint committee meeting between the hospital district personnel and our committee, we presented them with, here's what we're thinking, what do you think? And that was that Custer County would subsidize the non-mill levy area east of the hospital district, so that we could continue ambulance service through the end of 2020, not the first month of 2020. So that was what we put out. We spoke with them about it. We gave them a form and said, this is what we're thinking, what do you think? We made it extremely clear to them that this is not a proposal, this is a discussion item, because I had no authority to commit the county to anything other than discussions. They, at their last board meeting, took that and they said, if that's something you would do, we would continue to provide ambulance service through the end of 2020. If the county was willing to subsidize the ambulance service. They approved that at a board meeting. I made it very clear to them that this was a proposal from the BOCC, not a, let me rephrase it, it was my recommendation that I would be making to the BOCC that we adopt this through the end of 2020 or until we have some other solution, because we may have a solution sooner, that's why you'll see it, and then I broke it out into quarters, not into just an annual payment. They adopted it, so what our group said is we would like to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners that you subsidize, that we, the county, subsidize the annual service outside the West Custer County District for the rest of this year, and then on a quarterly basis for 2020, if in fact we need to go through all of 2020. So, is that clear, or do I need to make that?
You said till the rest of this year, I thought they were doing it until the 1st of January.
They are.
So it's not, we're not subsidizing anything the rest of this year.
No,
Right?
but what the recommendation was, that since the annual service was going to be going outside of their hospital district and not receiving the mill levy, that the this is the recommendation from our group, the county would subsidize the 3 mills for the rest of this year, because they had given us a cutoff date earlier.
January, right?
No, well, their drop dead date was January, that was the date they were gonna stop if we don't have something in place. We felt, we being the committee, please jump in, Ms. Linda, we felt it was appropriate for the county's benefit to pay them for the services for the rest of 2019, and then pay a quarterly fee for 2020 until such time as we could have a ballot initiative, or really until such time as we can come up to a long-term solution. One of the complications that we're facing right now is that just the heart of the Rockies is melding with the hospital district. They're really not in a wonderful position to come up with some terrific long-term solution for ambulance. This buys us time, us being the county time, to allow the ambulance service to make sure that if anybody in our county dials 911, we know that an ambulance is on its way. It may not be a good ambulance on its way because it's a long way, but at least that's what it's going to be. So, if I may, Mr. Chairman, you asked me, tell me how you'd like me to proceed. I was thinking of just making a motion of what the board recommendation is, not the board, our advisory group's recommendation is. And then if there's a second, then we can open up for further discussion. Is that appropriate?
I don't think so, and I'll justify that. I would think, and I'll take the long route. This is exactly why I asked at the board meeting of the clinic, who in the hell was the chairman of this committee, right? They said, and?
You talking about Jenny?
No. The board director that sat on the end of the table said she was the chairman. Right, so, anyway, I was, and here, so I digress. I don't think it would be appropriate to start with a motion. I think we need to hear what your report is first.
Okay.
Then if the board wants to pursue an action, then they could, but you're gonna approve something we haven't even heard yet, right? That's what you were getting ready to move to
I was
approve.
gonna make a move to approve what our group is asking the board
Right.
to do, and then you
Okay.
can listen to the conversation,
Right.
and you can vote for or against it or modify it.
And had you not been privy to all of this as a commissioner,
Right.
you probably wouldn't make that motion, right? Because you wouldn't know what it was. I don't know what it is, so you're asking me to vote on a report, to adopt a report that I haven't heard yet. That's my whole point, is that we should hear it.
It's not a procedure, it's fine, I'm happy with that, I was asking you.
Right, that's what I think,
Okay.
that we
So
hear the
we're-
report. If there's a motion coming out of that, then I'm good with that.
So this is what.
Time out a second, let me say something too. I agree with you. And it's okay to bring things that we've never heard of, and we have discussions and we debate, and we either approve or we don't, and if we don't know enough about it, then we don't approve it. But I have a different concern. You have, you had a committee that was, the people here that was under our county auspices. So, right? Hospital districts got there. They also have their thoughts, and I know that we probably think we have a good handle on what they're thinking. But it seems to me a way to resolve the bridge ought to involve them too, because they have a vested interest. It's more than just, I'll drive down there. Maybe they got some other ideas to do it. For example, I'm not so sure we need to pay them $3,500 for the services that they are gonna send an ambulance and have already down the hard scrap for the rest of this year. It just seems to me, and the other issue that I have, and we'll have to talk about this, if we can get everybody together, because there's hospital district money that's been accrued for that ambulance service, and we have this darn 1989 agreement that says they're accountable for it regardless, and we know that they have a budget that's pretty big to handle the emergency services. It is almost big enough to handle the new proposed costs of a standalone ambulance thing that we've been discussing. So I worry about, money's not a lot. It's $14,000 for the year, and the quarterly, that's the $3,500. But is it appropriate? And so if we had them joining in and coming to us with a proposal that says, we'll share this. We've got some money that we raised already, and why do we have to foot the whole bill? Is sort of an issue. But I'm just raising that as an example. They could have gotten together and maybe have helped.
We've met multiple times.
Which your comments should be framed in discussion of the proposal, I'm assuming, right?
That I haven't made yet.
That's right.
Right.
And so I would say, let's listen
So we
to your
can do that.
proposal. If there's a motion forthcoming from that. I know the agenda says consideration
Said we're
of
gonna consider.
subsidizing EMS. Really, it should have said consideration of the joint EMS committee's recommendations,
That was
correct
my
or not? Because I'm still struggling getting my mind wrapped around why the whole group is not here giving us their recommendation.
Because we did it separately. They made their recommendation, we discussed, we worked through this, their board approved it, and I was coming to my board to approve it. I don't think we needed to have them sitting here while I read this to you and tell you what we want to do.
What?
And if
Okay.
you don't want to
And
do
I-
it, it's fine.
Okay, so they've approved us paying for it, is what they said.
They,
Sure,
I would approve that too.
approved the joint committee's recommendation to their hospital board and to the BOCC. They approved it. I'm here to ask if you want to approve it or not approve it. That's kind of where
So
we
if it is a
stand.
joint
Agree with that?
recommendation, then.
Yeah, it's a
And
joint
please jump in
recommendation.
if I'm saying something
But
wrong.
it is a joint recommendation, and we're just an advisory group, it's not a committee, it's,
Right.
it's just this group of citizens that are telling Jay what we think and just having discussion.
Should be telling the commissioners what we think.
Well, that's, yes, so we're
Right.
going to Jay, and then
Jay
Jay
was the
is
spokesperson
sharing
for
it.
your
The
group.
Well, that's why they're
spokesperson
here
for
to
the
tell us.
group.
Okay.
I happen to also be a voting member of the Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah, which I
I
struggle
tend to
with
agree
that, but,
I know you do.
yeah. So,
But, you know,
let's hear the
I'm not-
report then. How about that? Is that fair?
Fine. Here's what the committee of the ambulance, the hospital board and the advisory from the Whitmore folks and the people who run it. Okay, what we'd like to do, what we're suggesting is out of the general fund, paying $4,000 to the West Custer County Hospital District for ambulance service outside the district for the remainder of 2019. Plus, we would like to recommend that the general fund pay to the hospital board $3,500 a quarter in 2020 to subsidize the ambulance service for which they're not being paid through the mill levy. The reason that it was important to go through the end of it was simple to give us time to come up with a permanent solution.
Question real quick for clarification?
Anything you like.
Just a point of clarification. So, $3,500 a quarter for all 4 quarters in 2020.
Right, that's
14,000.
even after the election, if there was something on the ballot, we would continue to pay because
Doesn't go into effect.
wouldn't go into effect until January.
Because it wouldn't go into effect till January first if the vote passed. What I really hope, and the reason that our committee said let's do it quarterly as opposed to just giving $14,000 for the year of 2020 was because during this period, we hope to have a more permanent solution. Okay, what are those? I can go into great detail on that if you like. At this point, there's been multiple discussions about AMR coming in and taking over the ambulance service for the county. The hospital district is discussing amongst themselves forming an ambulance district, a taxing district just for the ambulance. I can tell you the personalities involved, because I've been through this a lot, that there is at least one director, there's only 5, one of them tremendous pushback on anything other than them continuing, them being the EMS service that we have right now, continuing as an EMS service, not changing. So there's a lot of discussions that need to take place. I felt I didn't want to push them into a corner at this point and say, tell us what it's going to be, or, you know, if we feel it's different, we'll just have to battle it out, however we do, because their plate is so full right now with Heart of the Rockies. I felt this would buy us time to do 2 things. First and foremost, have ambulance service for the non-hospital district personnel, people outside the hospital district. Absolutely paramount, that cannot go away. And if they say they're not sending an ambulance after January 20th, that is totally unacceptable in my personal opinion, and then you guys can tell me if you don't want to do that. So this allows us time to come up with a permanent, and more permanent solution. Nothing's permanent in this world. A more permanent solution on what we're going to do long term with this. And the reason we did quarterly, so is at the end of the first vote we have a solution. We won't pay them the rest of it if that's part of it. So that's why we did it.
You get the feeling from them that they thought the same thing, that buying time will get them a better opportunity to give them a better plan.
Absolutely.
Or are they stuck
Nobody,
on it?
because their plate is so full, they really didn't want to get down to the nitty gritty and work through the details at this moment. And I probably agree with that. I mean, they've got enough going on at the moment.
And there'll be less next quarter for some reason.
Certainly.
What makes it less?
What's
What's gonna
the
free
hard
them
to
up?
wrap- Well, my feeling is, and this may be mine, I'm not sure it's a committee, a group decision. Once the stress of the initial melding of Heart of the Rockies, they could take a breather. Once that's kind of in track on its way, then we can tackle what are we gonna do about ambulance service outside the hospital district.
Does melding give them a different authority? Somebody else has to make a
No,
decision
actually, it
on
gives
this?
them zero authority, because Heart of the Rockies said, we are not gonna pay, we're not gonna be involved in the ambulance whatsoever
But they're not in
anyway.
any decision part of it either.
They will not be part of anything. This will be a decision.
They being
Heart of the
Heart of the
Rockies.
I'm sorry. Heart of the Rockies wants no part of ambulances, period, stop right there. So the whatever remains of the West Custer County Hospital District is the one who will be answering the question as to what are we gonna do about ambulance. Please jump in, I don't mean to take the whole spotlight here.
So, no, one comment on it though is, that they are willing to provide the ambulance service, and it's not just for the people that live in that part of Wetmore. We've gotta remember, it's, any of us that drive to anywhere else, and we're going through that area. I mean, if I'm driving down there and have an accident, I expect an ambulance to come. So it's not just the people that live there. And this 14,000 that we're talking about is the mill levy amount if the people that lived there got taxed on it.
And they agree to do it on a first call basis, no matter what.
That is correct.
Correct. So, and it's not as good a service as what we had. I mean, it's service. It's not as good as service, but it is service. I mean, it's much faster, when it was coming out of Florence, or if it comes out of Canyon City, or if it, comes anywhere else, it's faster than what we'll get, but at least we'll have an ambulance show up.
Can I ask a question? I'm just, did your consider what kind of pushback you might get from the other taxpayers in the county that are already paying the 8% that they're?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Here's what our group felt. First of all, this has nothing to do with hospital mill levy. This is just a 3% ambulance mill levy. The people in Wetmore, and it's who I'm talking to, although it's not just Wetmore, are adamant that they do not want to be part of the West Custer County Hospital District for hospital services and be taxed for that. They'd much rather go to Pueblo and hospital or whatever. This is the ambulance, the 3% that's only earmarked for ambulance. And here's the way we have justified spending county money for the I'm gonna use the word subsidize, I know you don't like it, but that's what it is. It's subsidizing the 3% mill levy that they're not getting. We felt it was very similar to when Road and Bridge goes out and repairs on, pick a road, Vermont Road. And I don't live on it, I haven't driven on it in 20 years, but that's what we do as a county. We take care of other people that need to be taken care of. So we didn't feel it was, and up for debate of course, but we didn't feel it was double taxation. It was just taken care of out of the general fund, the county taking care of people within the county who need an ambulance service. That's kind of how we justified.
Well, and also the
request
people
came
that
before.
live on the east part that are outside of the district to be taxed, never had that option to be taxed for it. So they're just stuck right now, because it was an agreement that was with Florence for them to be able to get that, and they weren't in the tax thing. So it's not like, you know, years ago they had the opportunity to be taxed and said no. That could be something, you know, if this gets put on the ballot in November, they may say no, they don't want to be taxed. I mean, those are all things that we don't know the answers to. But at this point, the people in that part of the county, if the ambulance service doesn't continue, are being penalized for something that they never had a choice in.
So are we discussing this, or what are we gonna do now? Cause I have some comments as well.
Yeah, I almost delved off into some debate, and then I thought, well, wait a minute, is that appropriate or not? So, technically, I suppose the chair would entertain a motion to this effect, knowing that most likely there's going to be a subsequent vote. If that's the desire of whoever makes a motion, that's fine. I mean, that's why we make motions, is to get them to a vote.
Here.
Or we can, is that why we're here? I guess that's what I'm asking. Were you
Why?
expecting a vote today about
Absolutely,
adopting this
I'm expecting
plan?
a vote
Okay,
today.
all right, very good.
Would you like me to move?
You certainly have that right, yes.
I move that the county take from general funds, from our general, funds, $4,000 and pay to the West Custer County, Hospital District, $4,000 for ambulance service through the end of 2019. And pay to them from the general fund, the West Coast County Hospital District, the sum of $3,500 a quarter until such time, well, through, no later than through the year 2020, when they stop paying the quarterly amount if a more permanent solution is made. That's how reasonable it is. Thank you.
I'll second it, just so we can talk.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the West Custer County Hospital District $4,000 for ambulance coverage through the end of 2019 and $3,500 per quarter for the year of 2020 unless a suitable solution has been reached prior to the end of 2020. Discussion.
If in fact, this is what you approve, it would need to be done by means of an IGA between the two entities to spell out these terms and what the obligations are on both sides.
So would friendly amendment to yours then to through an IGA?
Sure.
And the second's fine with that. Okay, discussion. I've got some, never been comfortable with this entire process. I don't think we've done what we all agreed to do, but that's maybe neither here nor there. That may be
And what is
just
that?
my misunderstanding that both entities were gonna submit names to serve on a committee. And that committee was going to function. I don't think that's happened. I said in the board meeting when they voted that, and I said in this board meeting when we voted that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, what's happened is the two committees met and functioned, then got together and decided what was gonna be best. Maybe the result's the same, I have no idea about that, but that's one of my debate discussion items. Yeah. Another one is, where's the money gonna come from? Have we talked with Donna? Is there money in the general fund for that? And then my other point of discussion mirrors, I think, where Commissioner Canada was going. Do we have any business paying them $4,000 for 2019 when we've already, the board voted, the clinic board voted to provide ambulance coverage through January 2020. So those are the three things on the surface that I would bring up. Plus, I guess my other big question of the committee, which I was hoping they would be sitting here making this recommendation to us, why aren't we voting on hiring AMR or Falk or anything else? And I guess I would answer that by saying apparently the committee thought this was the best option out of all of them.
No.
And I don't agree with that.
No, the committee does not think that this is the best final solution.
The best option right now.
For right now, yes, just because January 2020 is coming up really fast. Our advisory group actually thinks AMR would be the best solution.
Then why didn't you come to us with that recommendation? I don't understand that.
Because we do not feel that there's enough time to get AMR in place between now and January 2020.
And Scott Lynn must have told you that.
That is, that wasn't a fair question that you were just asked, okay?
It wasn't a fair question?
No, it was not.
I thought she
because
was on the
did-
committee.
She did not go to AMR to discuss it with them. The committees discussed the potential of bringing AMR in here. We are not negotiating with AMR,
Okay,
okay?
so you did discuss bringing AMR in.
Over and over
Okay.
and over and over again. There is a split on that decision. We, the county folks, we truly feel in our heart, beyond any other option, AMR is our best solution at this moment. The folks at the hospital group feel totally the opposite. And I don't even wanna say the folks. The one stumbling block is one person, a director, who is absolutely adamantly against it. And we felt rather than force this issue at this point with a 2020 deadline looming ahead, this was not the fight we want to take on at this point. We were gonna buy time to make this occur if that's what's gonna happen. They feel, they being the hospital district, Lisa Drew, they feel they have the ultimate right to make whatever decision they want about ambulance. I asked our legal counsel previously, and he said, we've given them that right, we could take it back. That's the 1989 agreement, okay? This sounds to me like if we're both gonna dig our heels in, obviously a judge is gonna make this decision. It's not gonna happen by January 20th. If January 20th comes and goes and they live by their deadline and we're not gonna provide ambulance service there, I will not sit in this seat and say we're not gonna send an ambulance to someone else at this hospital district who calls 911 and we say, we're sorry, or God forbid Linda or one of the people in this audience or anybody has a wreck on hardscrabble and they go, hey, you're on your own, too bad.
Okay.
Okay, that's not gonna fly.
Okay. Now it's my turn. I'm practicing a new Bill Canada here. I'm not gonna interrupt. I've listened to you and I've heard you repeat things over and over too a little bit, so, but I'm.
I'll take that as a slam.
No, it's not a slam.
Okay.
I'm saying no because I care about what you think, Jay. And the big thing that you just mentioned is the ultimate solution. I only wanna address the interim. That's the point of this whole thing right now, in my view. And so I wanna kinda take a look at it and I wanna repeat a couple things Tom said. First of all, this first quarter is an issue. I don't know why it was 4,000 when a quarterly payment is 3,500, and we started this the 1st September, which is the first 1 quarter's worth of bills. I don't know how you guys came up with 4,000. If that were good. Secondly, I agree, we don't need to pay that in the first place, because they took it on as their job, and they were gonna give us that time anyway, so we don't have the money. And the second thing I was gonna ask is, where is the money? Tom asked that already. Coming from, and if we can come up with less than, if we're gonna dip into the general fund, it would be nice to dip in for less. The money is best we can. And thirdly is, the hospital district is a dog in this fight. For an interim solution, they've got an ambulance budget that's huge. And they've got the old budget that they had as well as the 3 mil levy that they added to it. And so my feeling is they can run it probably for the entire year without impact to their budget for other things. But I don't know that because Tom made a good point. That's the discussion that rather than, I know they got wrangled around AMR, but why couldn't AMR do an interim thing? Nobody talked to them about it. How hard would it have been for them to come in in the interim with some kind of a contract that would 14,000 cover it? I don't know. If it didn't, then it has to come from the ambulance budget that the EMS guys or the hospital district has, because we don't have it in our budget. We gave it to them to run for us for the year. So the whole big picture options for the interim, I think, and I had the same impression. It was a joint committee in order to get both sides answered, because the county is responsible for the entire county from an ambulance point of view. Now we have a piece of it that's not there. We're obligated to do it, and I'm 100%. I'm not about to be going down there and then I have to pull out a card and decide whether I've already paid the tax, I get the ride or not. Which is the fifth point, is I do think we are, I paid for an ambulance service, and now I'm gonna pay for Wetmore guys to have it as well, which they didn't. So, it's a quandary. It is sort of a double taxation thing. I know the logic you used to come around that, I don't think this, I can't remember exactly, we do county roads, but everybody in the county is already taxed to do the county roads, no matter what priority they put it in. It would have been different if everybody in the county had already been taxed for the ambulance service, and we're arguing about whether we had an agreement that we were saving money with Fremont, but we've all paid for the ambulance service. So anyway, I think, time-wise, we've got, I empathize with their Heart of the Rockies issue, but who started that in the first place? It's not the problem we need to address. We need to address getting somebody real, and they've got a budget. It's not being affected by the Heart of the Rockies right now. Let's use together. And I might feel more comfortable if I felt that they had a bigger dog in this interim problem and sharing some of that money that they've already taxed their citizens for, right? So anyway, that's sort of a summary of how I feel about it. And so I'm a little uneasy with the way it is right now, and I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, a couple things. One, we do want to congratulate you because your
I've been sitting here
new
patiently
Bill
all.
Canada has been noted, believe me.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I know Commissioner Prince appreciates
I
it,
appreciate
no
it.
problem. We may disagree and butt heads, but as long as we can honor each commissioner's opportunity to speak, I think we're still produce all the ground. So thank you, I appreciate that. I don't like where we're going. I go back to this, if the committee was sitting here today, I would say, man, I would really like the committee to find out what other options there are, AMR being one of them. Unless something really drastically changes, will support AMR taking over our ambulance company. I haven't made a secret out of that. But as far as I can determine, that's not even been a consideration for the interim. Not for the long haul. I'm with Commissioner Canada. We're talking about the interim here, right? The long haul is a whole nother conversation. I was asked this question yesterday. Do you think Wetmore would accept $4,000 or $3,500 just to cover the non-hospital district? I said, I don't think so, but I don't know that. Well, has anybody asked them specifically? And I said, not that I'm aware of.
If I may, please. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Nope.
I asked council directly, can we in any way have them, can we bill them for the service, which is them paying it?
You're talking about them being the customer.
Being outside the hospital district. And council was 100% correct when he said to me, that is the service, that is the business we're in, is service. You cannot, it's additional tax. I agree completely. That is not on the table at this point. Should we bill for the services outside the hospital district so the county can reimburse it? Council, please jump in if I'm saying this.
Well, I wasn't talking about taxing anybody. Either I didn't make myself clear or we're not on the same page.
Okay, we're not on the same.
I'm talking about, I would ask that committee, did you go talk to Florence Fire and EMS about, on an interim basis for $4,000 a month, would you cover Wetmore? Now, they've told us it wasn't a money issue. I get that all along. I'm just saying, I think that's an avenue that we should explore.
Right, we've got.
AMR, would you cover I just hate to use Wetmore. The
eastern part of it.
Anything outside of the hospital district, would you cover that for $4,000 a month or whatever? I get it that this committee's probably not in a negotiating realm, but I think it's incumbent upon them to look at all the alternatives. I don't know.
Or who would be, maybe they bring it to us and that's an option, and then we have the authority to go negotiate, perhaps, to do that.
AMR said you would get 2 weeks worth of service for $14,000. I will tell you that because I asked that question, that was my answer.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. At this last hospital board meeting, when they said, sure, we'll take that deal if you run it by your other board, did their whole hospital board vote on that?
Yes.
And they voted unanimously?
Yes, they voted to accept that recommendation.
Okay. So
Commissioner
this,
Prince and I
so
both
this,
said
holdout person, and we all know who it is, but, this holdout person that doesn't want to turn it over to AMR, that's the long-term picture, that's not the interim.
Correct, that's my understanding.
We are looking at, to reiterate, Bill, I'm saying it again, we're looking at a deadline of January 20th. We wanted to come up with a solution to take care of that, so that these bigger questions that are looming out there that need to be and have to be answered, we have the time to work that through without, we could go right now and say, council, do we have the right to hire AMR? And if council says yes, and we said, and I'm just saying if. And if we said, and if we did that, council, can we get the $3 million that they're getting for ambulance? And if council said yes, and you wanna vote on AMR, that's fine. But that's not where we are at this point, and that was not the direction that our group and the joint group was working. We're working towards, give us time to work through, instead of rushing to a quick snap decision, give us time to work this through. Do I agree that AMR is probably the right way to go? Absolutely I do. Is an ambulance district, a new ambulance district? Of course, that's a stupid idea in my opinion, okay? But there's personalities involved, and that's all I can tell you, and it could be worked through. And during the time between now and the end of 2020, we will have the conversation. We will determine who has the right to make this decision. They feel they do, we feel we do. That sounds to me like it's gonna go to a judge to decide, and we'll have an issue. Counsel, please jump in if you feel I'm saying the wrong things here, okay? So, we don't have an answer to that. That is a sticking block that needs to be decided, because if it's just our decision, I would say, why are we even talking to them? Let's just make a decision and move on down the road. But that's not where we are at this point, okay? So,
Right.
we took the approach, what are we gonna do, because there's a deadline of 2020.
I'm gonna raise my hand.
Please do, thank you,
Go
sir,
ahead.
I'll shut up.
I don't wanna be rushed into it either, and so my view is, we've got to the 1st of January to actually vote, for the 31st of December to say, all right, we'll pay for the next 2 quarters. And I think we have time to go and have our committees come together and say, let's really focus on the center problem. And come back to us, maybe it's both boards as a joint meeting, but, or if you wanna come up with a joint conclusion and present it separately to different boards, then that's okay maybe. But no, I don't know that we've gotten all the options covered, in my view, I don't wanna pay the $4,000 for the rest of this year.
Okay, and I will interrupt, but I don't intentionally want to interrupt you, but I wanna make one clarification. What you just said is exactly what they did. You may or may not agree with what they did.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Well,
They did what you just said. The 2 committees got together.
Right.
They made a recommendation to that board, now they're making it to our board. That is what they did.
Which we can.
I'm clear on that.
Okay.
But,
That's fine. Anyway, to me, I think I do believe we got the mid-month of November and we've got the end of November. If there's something that I'm missing, I wanna make sure it's clear that we're not double taxing somebody when we shouldn't be, or that there's an opportunity. My real issue is, I think they can help pay for this and share the cost for that additional job. Why is it on our shoulders, period? Because they've got the budget for the ambulance, and they've got the full 3 mills, plus the original hospital district itself already had an ambulance budget in.
well, I think their perspective is why they won't pay for it is because it's outside of the hospital district. It's not a matter of budget, it's a matter of what they believe is their responsibility to cover.
Right now, it's a matter of contract between the county and the
That's right.
hospital district. They
Right.
That's the 1989 agreement.
That's right.
And I wanted to back up
That's
and
really
challenge Commissioner Candle on a statement that he made. I'm not saying he made it intentionally, but you said that we have the responsibility to provide ambulance service. I don't believe that. We have the authority. We gave up the responsibility. We're not responsible for ambulance coverage in this county.
I didn't mean it that way,
Okay,
Tom.
all
I meant
right.
we do have if we have part of our county that's not covered, it is our responsibility, because that's the charter that we had. Now, when we gave it up, in that 1989 agreements, I'm falling back to that, they said it included the whole county.
But by statute, counties
Right.
don't
We do
have
not.
to do
That's
anything
correct.
about it. We have.
Except we can, it says.
We may, but
Sure.
we're not by statute
Yeah, that's-
obligated to provide ambulance service.
Right, so we don't have to do it at all.
And-
That's right. That's exactly right.
And we didn't have, when we agreed to all this, we did have ambulance service through the whole county, by virtue of that 1989 contract.
Right.
Or subsequent agreement with Florence to provide it. So we were covered.
Right, and that was how they did it for a long
Things
time.
changed.
And I was just trying to echo what Jay's saying, I care about the citizens of this county as much as all 3 of us, any one of us. And I wasn't, by the way, and I wanna make it clear, I wasn't slamming you, Jay, I was trying to, at the enhanced point, that's the point you kept making again and again, and it's a good one. We do care. Okay.
Further discussion?
As a citizen who would hate double taxation. I mean, you know me pretty well.
Well enough to agree with what you just said, yes, ma'am.
On the other hand, I wanna be covered when I drive down that mountain.
Right.
And that has changed for us.
Right.
It's not just about people on the east part of the county, it's about us driving down that mountain during the
Exactly.
winter or during the summer or any time
Right.
and not having ambulance service.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's
other
why it's
people
not
driving
fair
up the hill.
It's not,
Right.
it is not acceptable.
to keep saying the Wetmore residents.
Or
'cause
my
it's
children driving up that mountain.
not. It's coverage in that part of the county.
It's not
You
acceptable.
said it exactly correctly. She corrected me and you were right.
Yeah.
Anybody on
Yes.
the eastern
That's
portion
But
of
it's
the
easy.
county.
I mean, if I'm in Pueblo County, and have an accident, I expect Pueblo County
Right.
to provide an
Right.
ambulance for me.
Yeah.
I expect Custer County to provide the ambulance for me, whether, it's Custer County's responsibility or just they can.
And that's where I was with the double taxation thing, the same thing, on the other hand. And on the other hand, the EMS or the hospital district has a dog in that fight too, that I don't think.
They don't, and they don't want a dog in
I
that
know they
fight.
don't want it, my
Very
point
clear.
is they,
They
and the
want
dog in the
nothing
fight
to
is
do
they've
with that.
already
It's-
taxed their people
It's
for an
been
ambulance
made
service.
clear over and over
So they can
again
help us double do
that
it.
they will drop ambulance service and not look back.
Well, and that's, from the legal point of view, we're back where we were when we had that meeting. We can force them to, through an injunction, to honor their agreement
Right.
while we're working this out. That's playing hardball with them, but
Right.
they can't just say, well, we're not gonna honor that agreement anymore. We can make them honor the agreement.
Well, I think they will say that, which will force us.
Sure.
That's right.
I mean,
Unless we give
it's
them
already
money.
happened.
Unless we
So
pay-
we're gonna
like
give
we're
them
fine,
money
we're
or
gonna give
force them to
money,
do it.
And
Right.
that's just crazy.
So another concern, this is, I think it deals in the realm of the interim. I have heard a lot about going to the ballot in November. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what's driving that. I guess that would be a possible solution. But I hear a lot more talk about that than I do any other possibility of dealing with this. And I'm not comfortable with that. And I sat right in that board meeting and I listened to that board say, Council, it is the county's responsibility to go put something on the ballot if you want it on there. It is not the hospital district's responsibility. And I don't agree with that.
The hospital district can't ask for a mill levy outside the boundaries of the district. They'd have to actually amend the boundaries of the district to be the entire county, then they could go in and ask.
Through a ballot measure.
Sure.
They can amend their district.
Well, they can amend their district, yeah, it would have to go through a ballot.
All in one ballot, right? They'd have to do it and then say
It's complicated, I'd have to think through how all that's gonna be done, but.
You know, personally, I believe the hospital district needs to be dissolved, because there is no hospital. That's been made very clear.
They're not living up to their service
So,
plan
no,
anymore, not
they're
even
not.
close.
So what does that really look like when the feet hits the ground? It's an ambulance district now. That's how they're operating, right? That's the only district boundaries there are left, it's an ambulance district. So if they think the county needs to go to the ballot, I'm willing to do that, but it probably won't be like they expect.
But that's what the final plan is, right? That's something that would have to be
Yeah,
discussed.
but I bring it up in this interim conversation
Right.
because that's what I keep hearing is the end point.
Yeah.
I have not heard the end point
What
is
it
gonna
really
be
can be, right?
higher AMR. I have not heard the end point is gonna be higher Falk or whoever. I just keep hearing
Or give it
until we
back to
get
the
to the
county,
ballot.
that could be one of
Right.
them.
Till we get to the ballot. So that's what I
I
bring
don't
up.
remember one time saying to you in my proposal about putting it on the ballot. I
Oh.
don't- Just now.
Oh, when you read it, no. Prior to that, yes.
And it's off there because ultimately, the group that I'm part of wants AMR. Okay, that's the ultimate decision that we're working toward. But that is not our main focus at this moment. The main focus is January 21st, heaven forbid, Linda has a wreck on hardscrabble and dials 911, that's what I want. And then I'll work on the rest of this.
Or Kelly.
Or you guys work on it if you don't like the way I'm handling things, that's fine too.
Further discussion? Public comment?
You guys are between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, no question.
There's no
question.
doubt about it.
Um,
And there are gonna be people that are gonna be upset about it either way,
Of course, yes.
so,
Well, and believe me, man, I had it smothered on me at their hospital clinic board meeting last week. How terrible we are, how bad-mouthed we have done to the EMS, and how we should be all gung-ho and moving forward in a positive direction. I heard it all in about 3 minutes. And of course, they voted to accept this proposal because we're
paying for
coughing
it.
up the money. I don't know where this money's gonna come from. Have we visited with Donna about
Gonna
that?
come from the general fund.
I would like to amend it personally to.
You don't have to do it personally, you can do it as a commissioner.
Well, I know, that's what I was gonna do, is, that's why I know the, time to do it, but I think we oughta, I can go along with it in the quarterly steps, because it will help force the hand. I don't think we need to pay this first tranche, they've already agreed not to charge us for it. And we need the money for things that it was, taxes were raised for. So, I don't know, that's my view.
The group came up with this idea of paying them for the 4 months, which is more than a quarter, of the $4,000, because they aren't getting the mill levy for it. Yes, they did say they would do it. I don't think they really wanted to do, extend it to January, who knows. But because they're not getting the mill levy for it, that's why we came up with that $4,000 to pay it anyway. Which is kind of a bonus to them. But that's why we did it, because they are not being paid for it, and we just figured that they should be.
How many calls do they make in a quarter?
4 to 5 a month, so it'd be 16 a quarter.
To what, to that area?
Yeah.
Or what?
I said in the board meeting when they voted, they did want to do that until January 20th, because it kept their little behinds out of a lawsuit.
Right.
They were all in going to January 2020,
Oh, yeah.
had no problem doing that.
cause Clint was loaded for bear.
That's
So-
right.
Yeah.
That's why I would move to amend it
It
again,
may still end up as a
to,
lawsuit.
amend that motion to take that initial payment out of the motion, and I'll go, look at the quarterly payments.
So strike the words 4,000 for the remainder of 2020.
That's right.
I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to amend the motion by striking the words $4,000 for the remainder of 2020. Discussion? I'm not thrilled about the whole thing, but I'm much more
either.
inclined to support it with the amendment, and here's why. Because I think the true heart of the thing was to try to come up with a solution for the interim. I don't like it, but I think that's what the committee was trying to do.
I think I said that enough times.
Yeah. And so I guess just as a point of discussion, that if this motion passes, not the amendment, but the motion, then where do we go? How do we get the process restarted?
Well, you either remove me from that committee and you take over, or the 3 of us be part of the committee, or however you wanna go. This is to get us through 2020, the deadline. We have made no recommendations for anything beyond that. And our group said break it in quarters rather than say for the whole year, so that we have
Bailing
time,
out,
so we can bail out if we have a solution.
All right.
get that,
And that's why we did that.
understood.
I am not in any position, and neither is Linda's group, nor is the hospital group, or is anybody at this moment ready to say, here's the solution to our ambulance issue.
No, no.
We believe it is most likely AMR, but it could be Falk, it could be something else, I don't know. We wanted to get over this deadline so that if you have a wreck on Hardscrabble, someone's coming to save your little hiney. That's what we did. And, never mind. Okay, that's what we did. And it's fine. I mean, you know, whatever you feel. You wanna not fund it at all and try and have something resolved in court based on that 1989 agreement
We can do that.
for the long term?
No,
I'm fine with that.
Interim.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I wanna do what's right for this county, but I'll tell you the one thing that I will fight you to the death on. If you say to me, or I think there's even the slightest possibility that if Miss Kelly gets in a wreck on Hardscrabble and dials 911, the dispatcher goes, oh, sorry, you're on your own. That is not acceptable, and that is what we faced when we sat down the first time here. They gave us an initial deadline that was impossible to meet. The hospital board stepped up and said, we will go ahead and cover this for a period of time. They made a commitment, and I felt, you know what, they stuck out an olive branch. Instead of us just grabbing the olive branch and running away, our group said, you know what, we ought to step up to it also and say, let's shake hands, we'll help fund this, or we will fund it, however you wanna look at it, and let's move on down the road. We're not talking about significant amount of money, and that's what this group said over and over and over. I grant, Bill, wasting $4,000 is not appropriate. I agree with that completely. However, it was the olive branch we were grasping.
Well, and I think part of the olive branch we're accepting is paying for the 3 other quarters if this motion passes. That's more than they.
Well, it'll be 4 quarters, through the end of 2020.
Could be up to 4 quarters, I should say.
Well, that's what we're voting on.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you say you would fight us to the death. Does that mean that you think Bill and I would argue your point that people should be down there and not get ambulance service? Why would you think you'd have to fight us on that?
I don't mean you. I'm talking about anybody who says there's a deadline and we're taking off the table what will continue it for an extended period of time.
And in that case, I would have arm wrestled the ambulance, hospital district,
I
cause
know.
they're the ones that were gonna say,
I know.
we're not gonna, you know darn good well they're not gonna do that, they're gonna go.
I know there's
You
no
better.
way on earth that you two would vote not to have the ambulance service down there.
I mean,
We're looking at the methodology to continue it, okay? I mean, that's what we're talking about.
Exactly, and I'm all for continuing it. Personally, I don't like this approach. That's what I'm struggling with.
Mm.
If I say I don't like this approach and you say, well, you don't think we ought to have ambulance coverage down there, that is absolutely not the case.
I never said
I know
that,
that. I
nor
said
will
if you
I.
did say that, that
I
would
never
not be the
said
case.
that.
I want ambulance down there just like all 3 of us do. I just don't happen to think this is a great solution. That's all I'm saying.
Which would make you feel more comfortable if they're, rather than just sitting there, build the fire quarterly, not only just because we can bail out of the next payment, but it would behoove us to get it done sooner than later so that it's the best possible service we can get. And that might be getting AMR in there right now. But nobody's gonna do that, they're too busy playing with Heart of the Rockies, or we're too busy doing something else. So how do we build the fire that says, let's get this joint group together and get them hammering on it, period.
If I may, I don't mean to interrupt, Bill, but let me just expound on that. If that is truly the way we wanna go, then what we need is legal counsel to tell us, you have the right to take it back. We need to then send to them, we are taking it back effective whatever date you decide, we decide, and then they make the move. That's the way it would need to be
Sure,
done.
whatever the way it
If you wanna do
is.
it that way. If you wanna
Can
do
I-
it as a congenial way, then we need to work.
But that, I think we can do it as a congenial way, but all I'm saying is we need to get the motion going. What's gonna be the next step? They're just gonna wait for a quarterly payment till we get the ultimate solution? You know, we gotta make it
Yeah.
sooner than later to get the right people discussing.
See, and that was the sense I
negotiate.
got sitting in this board meeting, that that this is to get us to the ballot. That's what I heard, and that does not make any sense to me.
That is not,
But,
Okay.
excuse me, that is not what we are coming here today.
Right.
We're coming here today with an opportunity to extend this through 2020 if necessary, and have a solution by the end of 2020.
We're given the runway to do
But
that,
we
you're
can
right.
move this much faster. If you wanna just say, council, give us your legal opinion, we send them a letter saying effective on January 1st, 2020, we're taking the hospital district over, and we have an AMR agreement in place for 2020. That is
No,
an
that's not what I'm
alternative.
saying. My point there is, Jay, we could say that if in the end they don't wanna they want their boundaries to be clear back here in the first place, cause it's still gotta be covered. The ultimate solution has to cover the whole county. And they're telling you up front, they don't believe the whole county's their responsibility. So somehow that has to be resolved. So in my point is, in the meantime, I'm willing to pay a few bucks to get everybody covered through the rest of next year. If there's good faith that both sides, they and us, are gonna work on that solution. The sooner the better.
What do you think we've been doing all
Well,
this time? Bill sitting on our hands?
Jay, you told us they didn't wanna mess with it because they're too busy absorbing things with the Heart of the Rockies. See what I'm saying? When,
I've made it very clear.
Can I make my suggestion?
you may, go ahead, sir.
Well, I'm just offer what the proposal is with two conditions. One condition is that it's agreed in writing that they will surrender all ambulance control back to the county, and we'll let them do it for all of 2020, unless we come up with something sooner, but it's agreed they'll give it back, and it's also agreed they will take it to the ballot to have their mill levy dissolved for the ambulance, 3% that the taxpayers are paying for ambulance service. But I mean, we'll agree to pay them the $14,000 next year, whether you pay $4,000 for this year or not, I guess is up to you, but give them some conditions, don't just say, here's the money and we'll get it all worked out later.
we'll work it out later.
Yeah, I mean, make it clear, we want them to surrender the ambulance service, acknowledge that we can take it back, if we have to, if they'll just agree, then we can have it in writing that.
So we can work on an ultimate plan that is,
So they
could
were
be
ready
a
to get
mix.
AMR,
Cause they
whatever
don't
you
wanna
want
play,
to.
they aren't gonna play, and assuming that they will congenially play with us, we have not seen any indication that that's the case.
And you don't know that.
No.
So, council, are you suggesting then in this language, we need to put something in here or not?
I would suggest that the motion be, maybe withdrawn as it is now and make the new motion with
Next
conditions.
meeting.
That they, first of all, they acknowledge that we have the right to take back the ambulance service. It was ours to give, it's ours, ours to take back. But they would agree that they will, no later than December 31 of 2020, they'll surrender it, perhaps sooner if we have something else worked out in the meantime.
Right.
And also acknowledge that it's their responsibility and that they will take it to the ballot in November of 2020 to set aside that 3% mill levy for ambulance service.
And if they say no to that,
Whoever.
then we have a January 20th, 2020 deadline.
No,
that
cause
we've got
we're
nothing.
agreeing, the language says we're gonna continue to pay through 2020.
Right,
But if they don't
agree
accept
to
that,
this.
yeah,
If they don't
she's
accept
saying
it.
if they don't agree to accept that.
And if they don't, then we play hardball, go into court,
Right.
getting an injunction requiring them to honor the agreement. Which is where we were at before, and I think they
logically,
understood that.
can't imagine them digging in anyway. This is, we're
Well, it's
working
gonna cost
together.
them a bundle of money in legal fees,
Right.
it's not gonna cost the county, that's a big thing to make sure people understand that if we have to do it this way, it's not costing the county tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees.
They just have to understand, we care, we wanna work together, and we want an ambulance service. Now, the details.
Well, we need to all understand, the future is not hospital district providing ambulance service. It just, it worked for a while, but it's not working, it's not gonna work. And this is just giving them time to get out of it and go through because they are gonna have to go to court to get that mill levy
Right.
dissolved. Or not
Yes.
the court, excuse me, the ballot.
Ballot, yes, ma'am.
I appreciate what the committee has done and put together. But to me, it feels like we're paying ransom to the hospital district just to do what they should do in the first place, which is cover the area no matter what.
And your point is well taken, however, it only represents half of the scenario.
Oh, I know.
Because they don't believe it's their responsibility.
I know.
So, so how do we, I like Clint's suggestion, we need to, I don't know whether it's tabling the motion and redoing and rewriting it.
Well, there's room for one more
Discussion.
amendment on the original motion, on the main motion, but, that's it. So, I would ask Mr. Prince to weigh in on council's thoughts there about attaching some stipulations to this motion.
We have to have time to do it.
I'm fine with it, and if we can, I'll just go ahead and withdraw my motion to approve what we brought out, if that's what the desire of the other commissioners are. Although I'll tell you how I really feel, because I always do. I've been accused of that too.
Okay.
Okay, here's how I really feel. If this is what we wanna do, let's just go ahead and send them a letter to the hospital district, effective January 15th, or whatever date you choose, that we are taking it back, that we're rescinding our agreement from the 1989 agreement, we're taking the hospital district back, and let's have something in place.
Not taking the hospital district.
I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Taking the ambulance service back, and, we need to have something in place by that day, or whatever day you choose. You wanna do it January 31st? I mean, let's just do that if that's where we're heading with this, okay? They will not, in my opinion, from my discussions with their committee and with their current board, they are not going to approve AMR as it sits on the table today.
That's probably true.
That's my opinion, I don't know that for fact.
But I like his suggestion, Clint's suggestion, because we can take it a step at a time, and they'll see some progress, and it'd be easier to change their mind rather than just playing hardball. We have that carrot out there.
And that is what we're trying, this with our committee, that's what we're doing, we're giving a carrot to them, we're gonna subsidize the part of the county that you're not being paid for ambulance service. We as the county are gonna take on that responsibility because we're gonna take care of all the people in the county. You don't have that obligation, we don't know.
Right.
That may be litigated, we know the agreement says they will take on the entire county, they don't feel that's appropriate. So that's a typical how lawsuits occur, okay? If they choose to do it, Clint may be 100% correct saying they're not gonna do it, they'll just pay. I don't know what's gonna happen, but the bottom line is, we as the county have the responsibility to make sure that if someone in Wetmore or east of the county, outside the hospital district calls 911, an ambulance is going. That's what this is for, while we work out a solution. And now we have time to decide, do we wanna play hardball? Do we wanna sit down at the table with them and say, we demand AMR, what do you demand? And they say no, then we go forward with that. So, I mean, you're really making this, no, you're not making it anything. It's, our committee was faced with a deadline and we came up with a solution. We felt it was not the hospital's district, it was the county's district to take care of people outside the hospital district. And that's what we came to the table. You feel otherwise, I respect that and I appreciate it, and I really respect not interrupting me as I speak. Thank you. I mean that from my heart.
We're not asking them to eventually cave in and agree to AMR. All we're asking them to do, what I'm suggesting, is acknowledging we're gonna take it back. They don't have a vote on whether it's AMR or anything else. They agree that it's yours to take back and you're gonna take it back at the end of 2020 at the very latest.
Can I make a suggestion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Based on what council says, because I really like what he's saying.
I do too.
How about I withdraw the motion? let's put something in writing. Let us sign it, and let us hand it to them saying, this is our agreement, and see what they do.
This is our proposal to
Our
them.
proposal. This is what we're
Not an
gonna do.
agreement, but this is our proposal.
It's our
No, I'd say
proposal
this
to
is
get
our
them
agreement.
working
I mean-
together.
Well, it's
Right, I
no
mean-
longer working together if we say, here's what it's gonna be. I mean,
Well, Jay.
Well, and it may include.
It may include
the money.
paying them for the next couple of
Right.
months.
forget it. I'm
Okay,
not fighting
all right.
you
Okay.
guys.
I wasn't sure
We just
where
gotta
you
get
were
what we're
I'm on
writing
board
down.
with you.
I'm just trying to figure out what we're,
I'm on board.
what we're gonna
Yeah.
propose later.
Well-
We don't know, and I think we have time between now and the next meeting, or the meeting after that, to get the right words there that we're gonna read.
Well, let's put something down in writing that covers what council's suggesting. Let's the three of us discuss it and come up with, is that what we wanna do? If it is, give it to them and see what happens.
Perfect.
And then we can decide if they counter, we can accept it or reject it. If they just totally reject it, we can decide where we're gonna go with it, once we know where they're gonna go with whatever we propose. That makes sense to me.
And the alternative would be to either move forward with the amendment and the main motion, or consider another amendment to the main motion.
Well, I'd like to,
Uh,
it means
or-
removing the amendment and then withdrawing the motion.
or
That's probably
withdrawing
the
it all.
simplest.
We can vote to withdraw it. You do not have the ability to withdraw it on your own now, because we have done something else to the motion, obviously.
So does somebody have to move we withdraw?
Yes.
Alright, I move we withdraw.
Well, I'm sorry, he can request that, we just have to vote to do it. He's the maker of the motion,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
And you don't have to do it in a motion, but we have to vote on it now because it has been amended. So it's up to you. I'm prepared to make another amendment, but I'm certainly willing to consider, withdraw and make another run at it. And I'm assuming, well, we can't put it on the agenda for tomorrow, so we can
put
postpone
it
this
on
until tomorrow.
that can be that. I don't think we need time to write the right language. What's the rush? We got 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks to the next meeting.
Yeah, I never did sense there was a rush, particularly.
So let's get the right words in, let's talk it over, let Clint write up something that we can talk to.
And I don't disagree with you, Bill. The purpose of what the original motion I made was to give us time to do what it is you're trying to do now. Okay? And I understand you don't feel the urgency for it. I don't feel the urgency either.
Okay.
Okay? So if we wanna, if we feel the right thing to do is withdraw the motion and then come up with a proposal that the three of us, I mean, you haven't been to these meetings, either of you, that we've had with the hospital and with our group.
I can imagine.
A lot
I
of
was
the
at a
things
couple
you've
of them.
discussed, all of this has been on the table, discussed, hashed, beat up, and we came up with what we felt, and I'm saying we because I'm part of that group, we felt was a viable, reasonable, appropriate, ethical solution for the interim. That's what we came up with. If we feel that that's not the direction that the BOCC wants to go, I am fine going in a different direction. I am not the BOCC, nor will I ever be.
If you wanna withdraw your motion and postpone this until tomorrow, I can have a proposed written motion for you to consider and talk about.
If we withdraw, then it'll have to go on new business, and that can't happen tomorrow. I'm not even sure about the legality of postponing it to till tomorrow because of the notification.
That's true, and I'm
I
good
just
with
don't know. I
waiting
could look it
until
up, but it'd
this
take me a
November the
while.
18th.
Well, like
That's our
you
next.
said multiple times this morning, what's the rush?
Well, the next meeting is the 13th, which is next week.
No, the 13th, not the 18th.
So you could certainly,
You could
and
postpone
it's a meeting
to
here
then
too.
if
It's
you
right
want,
here.
but this motion would come back as it is right now, or we can
I
withdraw.
want to withdraw the motion.
The request to withdraw the motion has been made. Because it has had an amendment to it, it will require a majority vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? Do you abstain, sir?
Aye.
Motion carries. This motion has been withdrawn. Kelly, you're good with what this motion means, or do I need to restate?
No, you don't need to restate. It's not a motion anymore, it's off the table.
The motion,
The
I'm
motion,
confused.
okay, so that's why I asked.
Did you write the original motion
The
I've
board
got
voted.
the original motion,
Okay.
I've got the amendment,
Right.
you said it didn't need to be a motion, but you guys needed to vote.
Correct. His statement of withdraw becomes the motion.
Okay, so really
Withdraw
it was
that
a motion to
Yes.
withdraw the motion and the amendment.
That's
and- okay.
We assumed, because the amendment goes with the motion, correct, unless you stated
No, I'm
something
fine. I
different.
want it off the table.
So the motion
completely.
and its pending amendment was withdrawn by a unanimous vote.
So was
The
that
motion-
was that a motion? That's
Yes.
what I'm confused about. He didn't really make a motion
Right.
and it wasn't seconded,
And
but
you
you guys
know-
voted on
I
it.
just
Yeah,
said,
no,
I would
his
like-
motion was
I would like
seconded.
to withdraw
That's true.
what I said.
And you know what?
Would you like
His
me to do
motion
this
was
again?
Yes,
seconded.
hold on a minute, because, and I apologize, I'm struggling on whether it must,
Be removed as
just,
a motion,
well,
or-
requires a second, is where I'm headed. A request for permission to withdraw a motion can be made at any time before the voting on the question has begun, even though the motion has been amended. That's where I base that rule. It can be done, even though we amended it, but it has to be in the form of a motion. So yes, with all respect, I would ask you to make that in the form of a motion.
I refuse.
Okay. You're gonna get your,
We're
get your pound
You're
of
gonna
flesh.
get us all interrupting here pretty soon.
I move that, I'm not even sure how to say it. I move that.
Just to
that-
withdraw.
To withdraw the motion that was originally made,
And it's amendments.
and the amendment.
Okay, I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to withdraw the motion and its pending amendment. There's no discussion on withdrawal. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That
Thank you.
original motion has been withdrawn. Thank you. You
Good.
were really correct, yeah. It
So I
did
have a
require
question
second.
for you, just out of curiosity. Do you have a commercial driver's license in case you need to drive the ambulance on January 22nd?
No, I have every conviction in my heart that I know the clinic will do what's
You
right.
don't need
Or
a,
that the ambulance
The
corps
clinic is gonna
will
do
do
what's
what's
right.
right.
There
you
is
don't
no
need a
doubt.
commercial
But we're not
driver's
gonna
license.
go
No,
there
you don't need
now.
a CDL.
That's not even in the options
Can you believe
right
it?
now.
That was great,
Right,
thank
that was
you.
one way.
Thank you for coming, appreciate it.
it.
Yeah, how ironic is that? You don't need any CDL.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Are you sorry?
Further, I don't expect this, we'd be in trouble if we did. Anything else, gentlemen, come before the board, before we move to public comment?
Do you want him to write something up for the next meeting?
I'll prepare something. If you
For
want.
the meeting mid-month?
Yeah, actually, we never finished that whole thing, because all we did was withdraw the
Do
motion.
the motion, that's all I got.
I would move that we request or direct council to write up an IGA, based on what the discussion was here today to move forward, an IGA between the county and, a proposed IGA between the county and the West Custer County Hospital District.
So you wanna do this as a
Well,
proposed
so-
IGA?
so
I would think,
Instead of
because
just
we're gonna-
taking our recommendation, our vote on what the recommendation was.
Yeah, I think it's premature for an IGA.
And take it back to him and say, this is how, the Board of County Commissioners wants to handle it based on the recommendation. You accept part of the recommendation, accept the recommendation, but with a couple of conditions.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion. It was never seconded, so somebody else can make a stab at it then on behalf of the BOCC. I come up short.
Well, Clint, you suggested some language that allowed us.
I would
To
suggest we still do
continue.
it by a motion, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so you're gonna prepare a motion for us to
I'll
consider.
prepare.
That was what he was gonna do.
Yeah, it'll be the motion that says that you're prepared to accept the recommendation that Jay brought to you from the committees
With
working
some
together.
changes that we did.
But, you know,
Well, we
with
didn't make
certain,
any
No, but
changes.
with
that's
certain
what he has to write
modifications,
in there,
specifically the two conditions that they acknowledge now
Right.
Right.
about the ambulance services, you know, strictly it's up to you to take it away. But this will agree, you know, we go through the end of 2020 if necessary.
Right, and we would start 1 January.
Well, I guess, you know,
We gotta, that was what I thought we discussed, unless we
Well,
all
we
decide we
discussed
don't
it,
wanna.
but nothing's
unless
been decided.
We gotta
That's the
decide
problem.
what to tell
well,
them.
let me put it,
That's what I'm getting at.
I'm gonna put it that we agree with the 4,000 now and the $3,500 quarterly. You can discuss it and
We
modify
can
it.
vote on that now and
But,
tell you what to do.
But it'll be that condition that we can take it back, and the other condition is gonna be they understand it's their obligation to take it to the ballot in November of 2020 to have the mill levy for EMS service dropped as far as for the hospital district.
So at the risk of being wrong, I will move that we direct council to provide language for us to consider at the November 13th board meeting, including paying the hospital district $14,000, to include paying the hospital district $3,500 per quarter for 2020, with the understanding if we can come up with a resolution to the issue of ambulance coverage, that those payments would stop.
Okay, and what about the 4,000 for this year?
That's not in the motion.
I don't want
Okay, alright, that's fine. I'll draw it up that way and then you can
Modify
debate it and do
it.
whatever you want, but,
That's my motion.
okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
I know I got a little rambly there, Kelly, I'll try to be a little more succinct. It's been moved and seconded to authorize council to draft language for us to consider in the form of a motion at our November 13th meeting, containing language of paying the hospital district $3,500 per quarter for ambulance coverage outside of their hospital district for 2020 or until we find a permanent solution. And the other conditions that we talked about of
They're acknowledging that
Acknowledging
you have
the-
the right to take back
Right.
the ambulance service. And, that it's their obligation to take it to the voters in the next general election to have that mill levy set aside that they're receiving, in anticipation you're gonna have something else.
Right.
Because that gives you the freedom right to go start negotiating with AMR right away if that's the agreement we have in place.
Yeah, I have a question
Time
too.
to-
It has not any debate here, it's just, should it include the expectation that we will work toward that ultimate solution during this time, or, you know, rather than just paying quarterly payments to get through the year? We gotta,
Well, I would think
continue
maybe
to resolve
in-
the long-term
in an
solution.
effort to resolve the long-term, come to a long-term resolution on EMS.
I think it has to be in there, otherwise you can just sit and make payments and they bail out.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll get the
I
wording to
mean,
you.
obviously, we'll have an opportunity to debate it,
Oh, sure, and you can change it around all you want to.
but
It was
at
just,
least we're moving off score zero.
okay.
So can I read this again?
I got a doctor's appointment, I gotta get to in Pueblo.
It's
so
not
I
been
gotta-
seconded yet.
I gotta get out of here.
There it
Do we have a
was.
second to the
Bill
motion?
was second.
We'll be discussing
Yeah.
it tomorrow when
Yeah.
I get back here.
Debate, yes, ma'am, go ahead. And Clint, if you'll just listen to this on your way out.
I'm listening.
So, to direct Clint to prepare language to consider in the form of a motion for the November 13th meeting to consider paying the hospital district $3,500 per quarter for service outside of the district through 2020 unless a solution is made before that.
For the year of 2020, not to include 19.
Right.
And how did we say, as we work, as there's work toward the ultimate solution, is it just, unless, is that word enough, Clint?
That's enough.
Okay.
Can you, that part of it, can you email that to me? Just type that up real quick and email it to me so I've got that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion that directs Attorney Smith to draft language for us to consider in the form of a motion on November 13th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
See you in the morning.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on. Public comment. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
good.
Good.
Well, I'd like to make a statement
You
on
may.
the last issue. I don't think the hospital district will be in favor of, being responsible for the election.
Okay.
I mean, I'm 100% confident of that.
Okay.
And I think they also will expect something in 2019.
Expect
Oh.
what, I'm sorry?
Something in 2019.
Something I don't know, of
Some
money?
money,
Oh, yeah.
compensation.
And if
'Cause
they
that
don't-
was-
and if they don't have it, then they won't.
I
provide
doubt
it
that,
themselves.
but you
Well,
know,
you
but
know, say
still.
one part, you're not gonna say the other part? I
No,
mean,
because I'm not authorized to say that, but as a board member, I would not be in support of delaying that, and as the treasurer.
Knowing that the board already voted to provide that service, correct?
But we also thought we were working on a solution
And
that would
we-
include 2019.
Okay. All right. Well,
But,
this will come back on the agenda, by the way, Ms. Kara, for November the 13th.
I'm in.
No, I'm talking about Kara in the back. Sorry, I'm looking right past you.
Yes. Oh,
I'm
sorry.
asking her to put this on
Yeah,
the agenda.
unfortunately, I'm out of town on the 13th,
Yeah.
but you can bring it back,
So,
saying I can Jay can call me and let me know what's going on.
so the language, Ms. Kara, would be consideration of, would it be the committee's recommendation or not? It's
No.
No,
The
it's not
committee
now,
made its
right?
Just
recommendation.
in consideration
Yeah,
of
this
the
is
motion
what-
to move.
You didn't accept the
We
committee's
never acted on it.
recommendation. Well, you didn't accept the committee's recommendation by not acting on it.
Correct, yeah. So I would guess
Modify.
then to consider what we're really doing is considering council's proposed
Proposed
language.
language
It's
for
not a motion.
to move forward.
Not a motion, it's language that we're gonna put into a motion most likely, but. So,
Language for a motion.
consideration of Attorney Smith's language pertaining to, the interim solution to the ambulance issue. I don't know, it gets kinda convoluted.
Providing ambulance service for the county, interim service.
Yeah. Further public comment? Go ahead, sir.
Do we even bother continuing with my group? Why?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Why? If you-
I don't know that they need to. Unless
So
the two
how are
boards
you gonna
want
work
them
out?
to find a long-term
The
solution.
long-term solution has to have that's our intent, is to get a joint
You already
group.
told me what you want your long-term solution.
No, we didn't. The long-term solution can be county only, AMR, it can be a mix, who knows? Nobody's negotiated with anybody yet on providing service.
I think you were very clear throughout this entire discussion where you come from. If I'm mischaracterizing what you said, then I apologize for that, but I think you were very clear, both of you, where you wanna go with this. And I told you, I'm in favor of the same thing both of you are, because that is the right solution for this county. I agree with that. But we're not the sole decision maker at this point.
Right.
That's,
So, but your question is very valid. Should, in our opinion, should that committee continue to function? I can't answer that.
I don't know why we would. I mean, we functioned the best we could. We came to a recommendation.
Cause
and
you
it
did,
was-
you fulfilled your charge, basically, right?
Well,
As a
no, I
committee?
didn't according to you, because we didn't have a joint committee sitting in front of you, and we didn't do a bunch of things that you felt that we were supposed to do.
which
I
we still
felt
have.
that we fulfilled a stopgap measure so that the county and the hospital district could work together to come to a long-term solution. And what is that? I don't know, because we haven't sat
Right.
down and worked
That's
it
right.
out.
But I'm agreeing, I think your committee did what they were charged to do. Whether I like their recommendation or not has nothing to do with it.
That's fine.
Do we feel like the committee did what they were asked to do?
Yeah.
And then do they need to continue?
So my
We
feeling
modify.
right now would be, I would like to invite the people on my committee to come to this forum in the future at BOCC meetings, so that the three of us can discuss where we're going. I don't wanna be the head of a committee that's gonna bring a recommendation that is impotent, okay? So, I mean, I would rather, let's do it right here, in front of the three, in front of the live camera. Let's sit down and let's come up with whatever it is that we're gonna do. Having a committee work together to come up with a solution doesn't seem to be.
Are you talking about long-term, right, in regards to long-term or not?
I'm talking about anything from this point forward, because I don't know where we stand at this point.
Well, we don't stand anywhere until
We don't stand anywhere until we
Clint
have
brings the language back,
And
right?
even then, we have nothing, because they, and I don't mean to point you down.
That's okay.
You're my friend.
Point
I
away.
I promise. I don't mean, but until they say, yes, we have an agreement, now we have something longer, at least interim.
Right.
Okay, but until that happens, we have nothing.
So you're saying until they say they wanna work with us to come up with a long-term.
They wanna work with us, I'll
Well,
tell
that's
you
what
that.
I'm
They have
saying.
made
You're
that
saying we don't
very,
have
very
that,
clear.
agreement, what are you talking about?
Okay, so, I mean, we're talking about a pittance in terms of money to work through a solution, to put in place
That's right.
a time frame to work a
And
solution.
that's what we're talking about on this motion. Is we
Putting
said,
conditions on them that we're not ready to put on them because we haven't discussed them, but that's okay.
And that happens on the 13th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct. And then they'll come back to us and they'll say yes, no, or here's a modification.
Okay.
And then we can accept or not, and we'll negotiate back and forth, and hopefully a deadline doesn't come and go, or as they do, and I don't mean to keep pointing to you, Mickey,
Well,
I
away.
love you, I
Just
really
refer to
do.
them as a hospital.
Well, that's a
But
whole, we
here's
got a
what
whole
they may
year to
also
do that.
They may turn around and say, tell you what, while we're working good faith towards it, we're gonna continue indefinitely the ambulance service till we come up with a solution. That's probably
Well,
what
and
they're
we-
gonna do
and-
because they care about
And
these
unless he
people as
doesn't
much
put
as
in
they
the
do.
money in the resolution, we're gonna be paying him for the privilege of waiting and working together for the next year.
I
And
think,
it's our citizens, not
That's
theirs.
That's what I said. I said for them to work with us to come up with the ultimate solution, Jay.
Okay.
yeah, I think we just have to be patient enough to let the process
Right.
play out, whether we like it or not. I don't, but I'm willing to go through that entire process. I don't know what else to say about
Well, the
that.
process is
We
already
can't-
in place. I mean, it is, we've already established the process. Clint is gonna come
Right.
to us with a proposal, we will hash out whether
Right.
we accept it, modify it or not.
Right.
We'll send it to the hospital district, they will determine whether, yes, they accept it, no, they don't, or they would modify it, and we'll move on from there.
I
The
think
question on the
that's-
table is, I do not see a reason to ask my, and I don't wanna call it my group, because I am not
The
the
group you're
leader of this
participating
group.
Right.
I've just facilitated this group and I've been their spokesman. I listen to every word that comes out of their mouth and I pay very close attention to what they say. I don't see any reason for us to do that until there's some need for it in the future, if there is.
And you are the chairman of that committee, correct, the joint committee?
Right, well, we're co-chairs,
Right,
Oh,
right, we're both working that together.
and then I was in the hospital the first meeting, so
Right,
I didn't make it, so.
right.
yeah, and I don't, as it stands right now, I don't see the need for that committee to continue to function.
There's nothing to do.
I don't either.
Okay, so,
And I think it would be, disingenuous to have them continue.
right,
And feel like they were having an input.
yeah. Well, they had input.
Well, absolutely, they
But
had input,
from
but
this point
continued
forward,
input.
right.
I mean,
I don't-
continued input.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that'd be outside of the realm of a committee as it stands right now. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's taken out of the hands of the committee into the commissioners at this point.
I think we all agree. Can we move to adjourn this meeting?
Yeah,
Any other
I'll make
reason?
one more call for public comment. Hearing none, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Opposed? Motion carried, 2-1. Let the record show Commissioner Prince.
Prince is gonna hang around there for the rest of the afternoon.